This is another episode of UFO Garage.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Joe, and this is where we talk about UFOs, aliens, and all things weird.
Every day, all day. Weird, alien.
Fun.
Fun.
What's up, dude? How's it going, man?
What's up, bro? It's going good, man. I'm stoked, dude. Like we were just talking about, I have butterflies. Just we have like our first like just legit guest that we met at UFO Congress.
That's right.
Stoked to have her on, Lorien Fenton.
Yep, we've been posting about it all week long, so you guys, I know you guys are looking forward to it. So, hey, Lorien, go ahead and say hi to everybody.
Yeah, I think she might be on mute.
I think she's muted.
Oh, you guys, thank you so much for having me. I was on a show last night for 3 hours, and I'm kind of losing my voice, so I'm really trying hard. I'm going to push through, and we're not going to lose my voice, and this is going to be wonderful. I'm so excited to be with you.
Man, we are so extremely excited that you're here, because when we were at the conference, I mean, you know, you and Melinda were blowing our minds. Like me and Ben, y'all completely like turned our reality on its head.
Upside down, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's what a good UFO researcher that's been in the community for as long as Melinda and I have, we figured out, God, was it last Congress, that between the two of us, we now have almost 100 years of experience dealing with UFOs and aliens and psychic phenomena and, you know, paranormal and all that. Because I'm
awesome.
62, she just turned 58, and we've both been having experiences since we were kids. So there you go. I mean, it's like, it's crazy. So, and then when we get our good friend Misha Johnston and our other friend Tana, and we get all of us girls together, there's like 300 years, because they're all in their, you know, 50s and 60s too. So, I mean, it's kind of a scary proposition that you have to get that old before you figure it all out.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, there's a lot to it, that's for sure.
There's so much to it all. There's so many layers, and it's like an onion that never finishes. It's like the onion from hell, you know. It just keep it keeps exploding.
Yeah, me and Ben were talking about it, how it's like a web. Like there is there's like maybe a beginning, but like there doesn't seem to be an end. It's just a web that continues on and on and on, and it's all connected.
That's right. It's all connected. And here's the kicker on that one, you guys. I'm sorry, but none of us are really going to know the truth until we die. And once you figure that out, like every good UFO researcher or contactee or whatever, you know, once you've had that epiphany moment, you just kind of write it out and you just go, hey, I can't wait to die.
That's awesome.
So I guess it's a reverse psychology the aliens are using on us to keep us, you know, out of fear of death. We'll pick 500,000 people, and we'll trick them into thinking it's okay to be dead, you know.
Yeah,
I think it's a cosmic joke, actually.
Yeah, so, when you think about it that way, yeah, absolutely, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I love that perspective. Like, you know, I don't know, it's almost like they're just, you know, handing stuff for us to do. You know, we're just kind of keeping ourselves occupied. It just never ends. And I don't know. It's kind of a cool thing.
Yes.
It is. It's absolutely that way, but there are many things I've discovered along the way that I just can't even believe have happened to me. I mean, I've had so many amazing experiences. One of the most important aspects of being a contactee, and I'm not really your regular contactee, and I'll explain that later in the show, but one of the aspects is that each one of these experiences I've had is very, very personal. And it took me up until, God, years and years and years to even talk about any of it. And then the angels or aliens, whoever I'm in contact with, came to me about 10 years ago now. It's been a long time. And said, it's time that all of you start talking about your experiences and sharing them with each other. It's going to change everything.
Yeah.
And that's when my radio show started, and that's when everything started breaking loose. And now people are, and I think that's part of my job as a radio talk show host, is to get out there and get people to say, hey, well, they're talking about it, so can I.
Yeah.
And I've had not a million, but I've had a lot of people just text me and email me through my website, which is lorienfenton.com, my name. And it's spelled Lorien, just in case people are confused.
Yeah.
And they email me and they say, "Can I come on your show and tell you my story? I don't want to use my real name." And I go, "That's fine. I can care less." And they come up, they tell me their story. And, it's so cathartic for them. Once they've done it, they're fine. They never have to go on another radio show again. They don't have to get on a stage. They don't have to, and they can go to the conferences and have a good time, and they hang out with other people who've had experiences, but they don't feel the need that once they've shared it, that they've got to run around the world, barking off the top of every mountain.
Right? Yeah, and I bet that's nice to just be able to get that monkey off your back too, like kind of talk to somebody about that.
Absolutely. And that's another thing that I've done over the years is I started a MUFON group up in Petaluma, California, where I live. And the interesting part was everybody comes out of the woodwork eventually and goes to the meetings for a few years, or they drop out, or they come back, or whatever, but they all say the same thing. If it wasn't for this group and me finding all these other people that are having the same experiences I am, or very different experiences than I am, but at least they're having experiences and talk about it, and we all get together and we have dinner once a month, it just makes me feel good just to sit in the room with them because I'm not crazy and my family isn't there judging me.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, absolutely.
Makes a huge difference, and there's a lot of that going on in the United States right now. A lot of groups meeting, a lot of people getting together and talking about their experiences, and it's very important that you find a support system, because if you don't, and you've got this stuff going on in your life, you're going to end up having a lot of problems, and a lot of psychological problems. I hate to say, because there's no manual on how to get through this mentally.
Yeah, I heard your episode with Kevin Day, and y'all were talking about that, and just how it completely changes your life. And if you don't have that almost support structure or don't know how to deal with it, it can be rough times.
Yes, absolutely. And some people go into deep depression. I've had, at one point I was joking with Melinda. I said, we got to start a UFO suicide hotline because.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, seriously.
Yeah, no, seriously.
But we all looked at each other at the table that night when I said it jokingly, and we all went, oh my God, we really need something like that, Yeah. But then we realized that CUFOS, CIROS International, God, I dated myself just then. You guys don't even know who CUFOS is, do you?
I don't think so, no.
Now we do.
That was back when Hynek was still alive with Project Blue.
Oh, okay. No, I think the only thing CUFOS related I know is that that little lemur on what's that Disney cartoon?
Madagascar.
Yeah, CUFOS.
I like to move it.
Move it. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, now I'm really in trouble. Okay.
Yes.
So anyhow, but yeah, there's organizations out there like CIROS International. You guys can find them online. It's Yvonne Smith. She's a hypnotherapist at MFT that runs that group. And then you could always see Barbara Lamb here in California as well. There's Sandy Mack in the Four Corners area. There's people that were working with Cannon. I can't remember Cannon's first name for the life of me. Is it Diane? No, it's not Diane. But anyhow, they're working with the Miss Cannon over on the East Coast, and her daughter's running the Ozark Mountain UFO Festival, and there's several hypnotherapists that go to that event. And I mean, if you need help, there's people out there. You can find them. You could also call, and this is wonderful, you can call the MUFON group in Newport Beach, California. You just go to MUFON.com. That's MUFON.com, and you ask them, you can get the phone number from there or whatever, and ask them if you can get in touch with Kathleen Martin, and she is Betty and Barney Hill's niece, and she is a hypnotherapist and a therapist as well, and she runs the organizational part of MUFON that deals with experiencers, and she can get you to somebody close to you in the United States to help you out.
Wow, that's great.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome for people to have those resources, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
yeah, it's a tough thing to be stuck in by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's so unlike any experience, and when you're confronted with this thing, and no one knows even where to begin to answer these questions that have been kind of put in front of you, these experiences, and going through that alone has to be the most frightening, I don't know, put you in a corner with no lights kind of situation. Like
Oh, absolutely. I gotta tell you guys, I'm known in the community as the person who's the specialist with the super soldiers. And when I say super soldiers, I don't mean these guys running around with metal arms and stuff.
right.
But I mean are the guys that are battling in alien scenarios in other dimensions.
Yes, we want to talk to you about that.
That's a whole. I mean, it's just I don't know how I fell into this, but I did, and it's a long story. Maybe we'll talk about how it all started for me. But the reason I bring this up is because Melinda is known for the MyLabs research because she's been doing that for like 30 years. I've been doing super soldiers pretty steadily for about 15 now. And what happens is, this is so amazing to me, is that people will come, they'll hear about that I'm going to a conference or whatever. And just at that last conference we were at, people came, 2 different couples and another guy came just to meet up with me, have lunch with me, and talk to me about their experiences.
Wow.
And I was so flabbergasted. And I used to think it was like kind of a weird anomaly that they'd find me and do this, but it's becoming more prevalent. I'm starting to have now a calendar, having to book a calendar out for my meals at these events because people are calling me ahead of time or emailing me and say, "Oh, I heard you're going to be so-and-so. Can we get together? I've really got to talk to you." And I'm like, "Sure. Okay, as long as you buy me lunch, right?"
Right.
So maybe you serve as some kind of like, they're probably looking for answers and somebody to kind of confirm things. So you're kind of like that person that have talked to hundreds of people probably about this same, the story. So it's probably really healing for them to hear, oh yeah, she knows exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not crazy. So I bet
exactly. I got to tell you guys something really funny. I was sitting there listening to, I'm not going to go into details. This was at another conference just recently, and there was somebody there, and they really needed help dealing with their super soldier, quote unquote, experience. And they looked me dead in the eye and they said, "Have you heard about eating the raw liver thing?"
What?
And I started laughing. I said, "Oh my God, yeah, I actually have. I've heard this from 5 different guys."
Whoa.
There's this weird compulsion that some of them are getting at different points when they're like just indoctrinated into it, that they'll start eating a bunch of raw liver for like 6 months.
Whoa.
And then they'll just stop. Like it just stopped. And I'm going, what is this? I've never been able to figure it out. It's always kind of near the beginning of their indoctrination into whatever it is these aliens are doing with them.
Right.
But I think it might have something to do with the fact that they're being pulled into another dimensional time space, or their astral body is, fairly often. And it probably needs more protein and more red blood cells to it just to recoup from the many times they're being taken a month. And I mean, these guys are taken 4, 5, 6 times a month. A normal contactee, what we've been figuring out over the years, probably gets taken maybe 2 to 10 times a year if they're lucky. Being taken is not always that common, and only if you're in a breeding program do you get taken frequently. And if you're just one of the regular schmoes being taken once in a while just to have contact with them for whatever purpose they've got going on, which I think is a long-term breeding program, and they're just looking into how we're surviving at 20, at 40, at 50, at 60, whatever.
Wow.
And so people aren't taken that often compared to, I mean, as far as I can tell. There are people out there that say we're taken every 30 seconds.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's a guy that, guys are going to love this. There's a guy who used to come to all the conferences. His name was Armatron. I think it was Armatron. And he just died about 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago. And I even had a hard time swallowing this pill. He said that we are constantly being taken into other dimensions and reformed back in here in time, and that it was because of the way the molecular structure of our body was that we could not hold ourselves together in this dimension without the intervention of the other dimensions compressing back backwards and forwards like little mini atomic explosions in all of our cells all the time.
Whoa.
And I was like, okay, but he had like proof, he had scientific evidence, he had all this stuff. So I walked up to him one day and I said, well, how many times have I been taken today? And he goes, oh God. He goes, you've been taking a whole lot today. You tell those reptilians to leave you alone. I'm like, okay. But maybe there's something to what he had to say. I used to think he was out of his mind, but the more I find out about time, gravity, quantum physics, the more I find out about all this stuff, I'm starting to wonder if he wasn't onto something.
Yeah, you got to think maybe there's some sliver of reality there. I mean, of course, you always want to approach these ideas that sound impossible to you and not be ignorant to the fact that maybe it's crazy because it really is. Like reality is that crazy, so you can't really discredit things right off the bat. But maybe there is some part of that does connect to other stories and the reality of what's actually happening.
Yeah, shamans have talked about it over the centuries about how they can transverse time through molecular bodies or astral bodies, whatever you want to call it, and who knows what it takes to actually have that happen.
Wow.
We don't even know about scientifically. Now, there's one other thing I want to say before I forget it, because when you get to be my age, you start forgetting stuff when you think about it.
Go for it.
Yeah. There
is a movie called Midnight Special, and it's about a little boy, not the old movie from the 70s, folks. Don't grab that one. It was made in 2015 or 2016, and in the caption or the description says a boy is taken from a cult and by his father or something. So I want you guys to watch that. I don't care if you're all like, I don't want to watch this movie, it's boring or whatever. You watch that movie, and I'm telling you something. There's more reality to that movie than anything else I've ever seen as far as an alien movie.
Wow, so Midnight Special.
Midnight Special. Yeah, I want you guys to watch it. It's kind of slow. It's about. I'm not gonna tell you what it's about. It's kind of slow, but Kirsten Dunst, I think that's her name.
Kirsten Dunst.
Dunst, yeah. She plays the mom, and
she was an ET.
No, she's an ET.
No.
Oh no, that was somebody else. All right, my bad. Keep going.
Yeah. I don't remember her being an ET, but she could be one for all I know.
It was somebody else. I'm wrong. I'm totally wrong.
It's okay. So, anyhow, she plays the mom, and the little boy's fabulous. His name's Alton. That's all I'm going to tell you guys. And when I watch that movie, I just sit and cry at the end. I just cry because I look around at our reality as we live it now, and when you guys watch this movie, you're going to go, oh my God. You're going to go, this could be where we could be, it's amazing because we create what we're living. We create all this as a universal consciousness, and we could create a world where there's no war, there's no famine, there's no, we don't have to eat cows. I mean, we could create that world if we just all do it. All we have to do is decide to do it, and that's the simplest thing. And everybody just instead of getting out of bed and going down to McDonald's, everybody gets out of bed and goes out and waters their tomatoes and their whatever, and we just change the paradigm. But it could happen overnight.
I love the McDonald's thing because it's so it's very American, but it is like indicative of the choice and the willpower. And I feel like we kind of grew up to believe our culture just kind of tells us, oh yeah, well it's just easy and McDonald's is fun. And,
convenience.
Yeah, it's convenience. Everything's convenience.
Yep.
But, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I totally dig that train of thought where we do manifest our reality every single day with every choice we make, and there is some kind of roots to reality where it is a collective consciousness, and I don't know, there's something there for sure.
Yeah. Oh, there definitely is, and the aliens are tapped into it because that's how they make everything around them. I have a great story for you guys. Wait a minute! Don't you have to do a Facebook thing?
Oh, we don't. This is way more interesting.
Oh, come on! Let's do the Facebook thing, and I'll remember the story because it's very fun. Okay.
All right. If you remember it, we'll go on ahead and we'll check out what some of our listeners have been looking into today. or like I guess this past week, man. But,
Yeah.
this is blowing my mind already.
No, my mind's like already blown. Not to say this stuff isn't interesting. I don't know.
Yes.
But so the first one is Lorien, have you heard of the Rockwall, Texas, or I guess the city called Rockwall?
No, I have not. So what happened?
So there's a city called Rockwall, Texas. I mean, Joe, I grew up knowing about this city.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's not far away from here.
Uh-huh.
But it turns out that these I don't know what kind of geologists that kind of dug into the ground and actually found the rock wall of Rockwall. The reason why it's called Rockwall is because there's this ancient wall made out of stone, and I don't know if there's mortar, but there's definitely like interlocking stones, and it's just no one knows like how old it is. But
big giant blocks.
Oh God! Okay, now that's from South Park, right?
It should be.
It should be from South Park.
It sounded like the teacher, man. I was like, oh, is that an episode of South Park where they're making fun of ancient aliens or something?
It should be an episode.
It should be, dude. Yeah, no, that was Childress.
Oh, that was. Well, see, I wasn't wrong, was I?
No, you were spot on.
You were spot on with that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I respect the guy. I love the guy, but that's just a funny way of saying the word giant blocks.
Giant blocks. That's how he says it.
Yeah.
So what about this rock wall?
Okay, so now tell me more about the rock wall. So they just don't know what's happening, and they're all standing there shaking their heads, going, "Where's the rock wall come from?" Is that what's going on?
Yeah, well, basically, like everybody in the town's known about this rock wall, and they finally like kind of dated it, and I guess it was discovered in like 1901, but they dated it to be. I'm looking through the article to try to find the actual date, but it was like over 10,000 years old or something like that. Am I wrong about that? Like it
about
was
10,000 years.
10,000. Yeah. So I just think it's interesting that's in Texas.
Yeah, and nobody bothered to. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna call this city Rockwall."
Yeah.
Why? Well, because there's a giant rock wall, but nobody decided to investigate it and see how old it was.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I like it. Now, did you guys know that down in the Gulf, there's all kinds of like roadways going into the water and all kinds of levees under the water?
I have heard of that. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, but somebody did a picture essay on it long 8 years ago, something like that, and you could see all of these places, above from a plane where there is actual build out, structure.
Like old trade routes and things like that.
Is that in Texas?
Yeah,
it's down on the coast.
Yeah, Texas, Louisiana. Texas, Louisiana, mostly. I think.
Yeah, Mississippi.
Wow.
Mississippi, I think in Florida too.
Whoa.
But anyhow,
the dirty third coast.
I think we've had a lot of people here thousands and thousands of years before the Indians, and I think there were giants here, and I really believe that this place was, occupied.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, North America is like home to some of the largest land animals until like the mass extinction event that supposedly took place. But, we used to have like the largest animals in the entire world right here in North America.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, anyhow, okay, so the rock wall situation, is there anybody going to do anything about it? Or besides the fact that they're going to put now a big neon sign that says, come visit and touch the rock wall and you will be healed or something? Yeah. I don't know.
Someone's going to put up some kind of like metal pyramid and try to heal your ailments at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll be the next Medjugorje or something like that, or whatever they call it.
Yeah. It didn't seem like they're trying to move too fast on it. They just wanted to let everybody know.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that information. I mean, they're like,
that's pretty cute. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, man. And Chris Holm, man, we just want to give a shout out to Chris Holm, man. Thanks for diving into that Dr. Squatch. That was pretty cool. But he got down on that, dude.
Dude, yeah. He got like, Dr. Squatch is one of our sponsors. It's just natural soaps. Awesome stuff. I use it almost every day. It's awesome stuff.
Chris, you're gonna smell good, dog. For like at least 2-3 months.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, he picked up a bunch
Well,
of stuff.
let me tell you guys, he's in direct competition with me in the future because I'm going to have a goat farm and I'm going to make goat soap, and it's called Lorien's UFO goat soap.
Hey,
And all,
that's awesome.
yeah, all my goats are going to have, instead of a brand on them, they're going to have their fur cut out in the shape of a UFO on
That's
their
awesome.
butts.
Oh my god,
Well,
that's amazing.
We may have to start promoting new soap then.
Yes,
so
your future
you let us
soap.
know as soon as that happens.
I will. I got to get the farm and I got to get the goats first. But man, I'm telling you, that's where I'm heading. I told everybody, I said, by the time I'm 65, I'm going to be back being a hippie. I'm going to have a farm. I'm going to do my pottery and jewelry again. And I'm going to dance. I'm going to dance naked in the field.
Hey, that's
all there is
yeah.
to it.
That's life goals right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where
there
I
you
want to end
go.
up.
I know.
I mean, I'll probably take that life sooner than 65. I'll probably go next
Uh-huh.
year if I could.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I got stuck into the corporate world and the Silicon Valley life and, the high, the 40-bedroom houses and, the McMansions here in California. But
Yeah.
I grew up on a farm and I'm just, I've had it. I've had it. I'm tired of having to get out of bed every day and make thousands and thousands of dollars just to survive.
Oh, man. Yeah, I hear
it's
that.
crazy.
I hear that. I mean, I don't make nowhere near thousands of dollars to survive, but definitely that grind to survive. I feel you. It's time to head back to Mother Nature.
Get back to your roots. I like the idea of the goat thing too, because I mean, you don't have to mow your lawn then either.
That's right. There's a lot of things I don't have to do. And I have chickens. I'll probably have a few miniature ponies and, a few fun little things there. I might run a sanctuary because a sanctuary for animals that have been abused is so much better than, raising your own and, becoming a breeder or whatever it is you're going to do. So
Yeah,
that's probably
yeah.
what, knowing me and knowing what I've done in the past, I always had 2 dogs, 5 cats, I've had turtles and snakes and, I've had everything I can have and then, they eventually go to good homes or go to, Rainbow Bridge or wherever
Right.
they end. But
That's awesome.
yeah. Yeah. So he and I we're going to have to get married and have our farms together. Now, how does he get his Sasquatch soap oil from the Sasquatch? That's what I want to know.
I have no idea how he does it.
Yeah, we kind of reached out to them, and I mean, yeah, I think they fly him in every Friday or something.
There's a special Squatch call that they do.
They do an oil extraction off the fur. And then
Yeah,
they go,
that's exactly
oh, yeah,
right.
we got it now.
Yeah, you'd think that Sasquatch would smell bad, but actually, y'all, he smells really
Smells
good.
really good. Yeah. You got to scratch the top layer off.
Yeah,
of it.
dude.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to buy a bunch of his soap now just for the heck of it. I love soap. I'm like a soap collector, so I'm going to have to get some Sasquatch soap.
Yeah.
That'd be okay. Anyhow, what's the next Facebook thing?
Let's see
Do you
here.
want to talk about that crossover, a little barbecue pit, just to give him a little shout out?
that little barbecue pit is pretty sweet. Yeah, absolutely. Andy Johnson, dude, your barbecue pit
Is
so dope. It's so dope. Lauren, you probably can't see it, but it's on our Facebook page. It's a Weber grill, right? And he cut the middle out of like a metal like patio table, just like a metal patio table, and he set it inside. And he put lights around it, and it looks just like a UFO.
It's so
and so you
cool.
can sit around this
Oh,
table and
cool.
grill in the middle, and just pull the top off, and still drink beer and stuff on the table. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's so sick.
It's pretty awesome. So shout out to Andy Johnson, because that thing is awesome. He's from Australia.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Dude,
he's from Australia.
I love that the culture in Australia is like barbecue and aliens. As far as like,
Yeah.
the past few like 4 Australians that I've met, they're like number one, always like really nice and cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the past few people is like, I love barbecue, I
Yeah.
love aliens.
It's funny because it's like, people are like, oh yeah, you guys are like Texans, and then it's like the rest of the United States, and then like people say that Australia is like the Texas of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
They're like, you guys are the Texans of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Yep, it's kind of the
Boy,
same
you guys,
thing.
you nailed that, man. These guys barbecue everything.
Oh yeah, yeah, they love it.
I talked to a guy once. He said, "Yeah, we were barbecuing kangaroo and all kinds of stuff." I was like, "Oh no, don't tell me this. I don't want to hear it."
Have you ever had kangaroo?
No. I can't. The thought of eating one of those after watching all the rescue videos of the little baby Ruse, I just like, oh my God, I couldn't do it.
They only go for the mean ones that punch tourists.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that isn't so bad. You know, those big mean the big nasty guys, I mean, they will punch you out. I mean, that's no joke.
They'll chase
People
you down
think
and
it's
step
funny,
on you.
It's true.
Have y'all seen that YouTube video of the really jacked kangaroo has this dog in a headlock, and the owner runs out and just decks him right in the face.
Yeah,
so he
lets
lets
that kangaroo out, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
nuts.
God. Yeah, well, good for the Aussie and his UFO barbecue. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Next, we're kind of scrolling up. This gigantic Chinese telescope opens. I mean, this thing is huge. I mean, I don't. Let's see how big it is.
It's like its own crater, dude.
Yeah, it's freaking huge, man.
Yeah, it looks massive. And they're using it to search for ET.
Surprise!
Isn't that weird? How I think we can kind of assume that ETs and things are real, right? And we're still spending like billions and billions of dollars on these telescopes and all this research. Do you think that's kind of like a front for like whoever's in charge to say like, oh, well, it's a way for them to kind of keep it suppressed on like, well, we don't know yet, but we're still looking. So that's why we spent billions of your tax dollars.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's why I laugh when everybody says, oh, we got to go look through the telescope. We got to do this. We got to do that. Here's how you get an ET to show up. You get 3 contactees in a room, and then you walk them outside with a beer in their hands, and they'll show up.
Wow.
That's way cheaper than I think this telescope
I
costs.
know.
Yeah.
It's so much better. It's so much easier. I mean, we laugh about it all the time because it's like, it's not that they're not there. It's that they're there all the time. You just can't see them. That's number one. Number two, if you're a contactee, you can't get them to stop bugging you. When you don't want them there, they show up. When you do want them there, they're nowhere to be found. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always like that. And then the third part to this is the government knows exactly what's going on, but they're going to play games with us all the way through the next 2 generations of children. Because they want the next 2 generations to accept the fact that they're here, and then their kids to accept the fact that there's somebody driving the dang ship. That's what's going on. And it's all based on the book Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. You ask any CIA guy that's had anything to do with disclosure, UFOs, aliens, whatever, been in the military or any other program, and they will tell you that book is their Bible.
Really?
Because in that book, the aliens show up and they park a big ship over every major city in the world, and they don't do anything for 100 years. They just park there.
Sounds like District 9, that movie. I mean, maybe that's where they drew that from.
Yeah, maybe. Or The Arrival, where they just come down.
Or The Arrival, yeah.
They come back down in the big jelly bean, and then they just sit there for like a long time. Yeah.
It's more like have a peanut.
Yeah, exactly. And nothing happens. I mean, it's ridiculous for 100 years. And that way, every generation grows up knowing they're just there.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy. So, anyhow, that's what we're trying to play now because the genie's out of the bottle and they can't put it back in now.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well,
there you go.
Are we done with the Facebook stuff?
Yeah.
You want to just move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
Well, I just wanted to shout out real quick. Chris Berg, thanks for buying a shirt, dude. That blue looks dope, dude.
Yeah,
just
the
wanted
blue
to sneak that in.
Really good.
Yeah,
man, all the shirts that have come out in blue look awesome.
Yeah,
that's a really cool looking blue.
Yeah, we've got some new merch on our site too. We've got socks. I've made some socks and a hoodie.
What?
And a sweatshirt, baseball shirt.
Awesome.
Yeah, so if y'all want to check it out, it's on our website.
I'm gonna have to go get a hoodie because it's about to be winter time here.
I know,
it's gonna get down to like a whole 64 degrees. I'm gonna need my hoodie. Awesome. Well, Miss Lorien, I tell you what. So we kind of already started in on all this stuff, but for the people that don't know you, and for all of our listeners who are kind of on this journey with us, tell everybody about you, who you are, and kind of how all this thing started for you.
Oh my God,
I
man!
know
Where
it's
do I
gonna
even
it's gonna
begin?
be tough. I know.
It happened at birth. I swear to God, no. No, when I was 18 months old, my parents took my grandmother and myself down to a beach cabin. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and when we got to the cabin, they had told everybody on the phone and also in a letter on the table when you walk in the door that there was rat poison all throughout the house, and they needed to pick it up if they had any children crawling around or whatever, and or dogs or what have you. So my mother and my dad went around when my grandmother held me and made sure I didn't get away from anybody, and picked up what they thought there were pie trays full of rat poison stuck under all kinds of places in this house, and they thought they picked them all up. Well, when they opened in the old days, there used to be wood closets under staircases where people would put all their wood for the fireplace and hang their coats or whatever. And they opened that door to get a bunch of wood out. And they never closed it properly, and I crawled in there because I was crawling around a lot and nobody saw me, and I was sitting there eating a whole pie tray of rat poison.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. By the time they discovered me, they didn't know how much I'd eaten. My mom kept saying, "Oh, she's fine. She'll be okay."
She'll walk
and
it
my
off.
grandmother's like, "Are you kidding me?" And she grabs me, throws me in the car with my dad and my mom, and says, "We're going back to Portland," which is about 60 miles away. And so they throw me in the car. We all get back there. By the time we get there, apparently my blood was starting to seep through my skin.
Oh,
and the story goes that I wasn't going to make it through the night. I'd eaten way too much, and my organs would probably melt, kind of thing. So, I don't remember anything of this, but my grandmother told me the story when I was a little older. She said, "Yes, I was in the hospital with you, and I saw the angel that came to me when I was about 13 years old, and I was dying of like rheumatic fever or something, because back in the early 1900s there was a flu that was going around, killed millions of people, and I think that's what she had." And she said, "Yeah, I saw this angel in my window, and the angel came in and said I was going to be fine, and was talking to me, and I was fine the next day. So
Wow.
I saw same angel over your crib in the hospital, so I knew you were going to be fine." But what she didn't tell me was that my dad told me later, he said, "Yeah, we left her there. We told her to stay awake because they weren't sure how long you'd be alive. And we had to run home because we had to do so." I don't remember what they had to run home for. I think they was to get my mom clothes, my dad clothes, or me clothes, or, whatever. Anyhow, they had to run home. So that they're running home, and they said, "We'll be back in, half an hour. Stay awake, whatever, run down the hallway and call us if anything happens, blah, blah, blah." So when they came in, they found my grandmother asleep, and my dad just chewed my grandmother out, just chewed her out. Like, "What are you doing sleeping? She could be dead," the whole bit, right?
Yeah.
And my grandmother wakes up and says, "Nah, she's going to be fine," and goes back to sleep again and says, "I'm going home."
Oh, wow.
No.
She goes, "I want to go home." So she called my grandfather to come and get her. She went home because she knew I was going to be fine.
Yeah, because she saw your angel up
I
there,
mean,
right?
Yeah, totally.
Wow. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's pretty crazy.
In all reality, I now know that those angels are not really, they're angels, that's for sure. They're a higher dimensional alien is all they are.
Wow.
So, so there you go. That's what happened. So that was the beginning of my, crazy life, because apparently once they've contacted you in any way, shape, or form, taking you on a ship, touched you in a hospital, or if you've died and come back, or, whatever the case may be, you are never that same person again.
Wow.
If something happens to your DNA, your consciousness, something happens, because once they've intervened and there's a communication between the two of you, they have to do something to you to make that happen.
Wow.
And I don't care what anybody says. This is my true belief, and they have told me this over and over and over again, that once that communication or that plug has been put in place, that you can dismantle it. You can say, "Don't ever talk to me again," and blah, blah, blah. Make sure they don't. But the connection's always there.
Right.
And even when die, they're going to be there when you die because they've made that connection into the next consciousness level with you. So I know that to be the truth. I absolutely know that. So, and you talk to every contactee, they can tell you, each one of them can tell you the moment that they knew that they were never the same human being again. They weren't just human anymore. They were able to communicate with these other dimensional beings.
Right.
So, yeah. It's every one of us knows that. So, and it's something they tell you too. They don't tell you in words. It's just a feeling you get. That way, you always know. I always laugh at this. Everybody goes, "Oh, I'm special." I'm a contactee. I'm special. And the aliens tell you. Did you guys see People of Earth? That TV show?
I have been trying to look for that thing, and I haven't been able to find it because it's on what is it, AB's or what's that streaming?
Yeah, you told us to check it out, but I couldn't. I
tried to find it on Prime and Hulu and all kinds of stuff, and I couldn't find it.
Funniest TV show about UFO contact I've ever seen in my entire life, and I'm telling you, they said they were going to do another season, but they didn't, and they should have because it was just fantastic. But anyhow, in the TV show, every time the aliens wake them up and put them back, they tell them, "You are special. You are special."
That's funny.
One of the contactees wakes up and looks him dead in the eye and grabs his arm and says, "I am not special." It's really funny.
It looks pretty funny. I've seen a couple trailers of it, and it looks hilarious. And I've tried to look for it a couple of weeks ago. I was looking it up and trying to find it. Yeah, and I couldn't get it.
Dang it!
I know.
Well, it sounds like a lot of people complaining about the millennial generation. Where you're special. You can, everyone's a winner.
Yep.
That's really what it's about. It's really the funniest thing I've ever seen. And just remember this, guys. Babies are us. That's all I'm going to tell you.
The store?
Laughing. What?
The store? The Babies Are Us? Isn't that like a Toys R Us spinoff?
Yeah. Just remember, babies are us.
Okay,
that's all I'm telling you. Okay?
So when we see it, we'll understand, right?
All right.
Oh yeah, you'll understand. You'll die laughing.
Awesome.
It's too funny. It's just so fun. It's unbelievably funny, actually. So the whole show is great. The concept was fabulous. I have no idea why it died on TV, except for the fact that maybe only contactees got it.
Oh right, yeah,
because it used to be on TBS or something, or.
I think so. It was either TBS or the TNT or
one
UNA, something like that. Yeah. Those, but anyhow, so that's basically it for my beginning of everything that's happened to me, and then it's got really crazy because I would be watching okay, here's just one of my other crazy little stories.
Yeah, please.
I was about 4 or 5, maybe 6. I don't know. I don't remember. I was in the first grade, I think. And we were watching The Wolfman, the black and white with Lon Chaney, with my 2 little sisters who were 3 and 1 or 1.5 or something like that. And we're watching this, and the Wolfman is running through the graveyard, and it's his family's graveyard. And they zoom in on one of the headstones, and it says Talbot. And I went, oh. I had a sudden impression that I was going to marry the Wolfman.
Whoa. Ooh.
I know. So I turned to my sister. This is something she has never forgotten. She said, I was 3 or 4, but I've never forgotten this. I turned to my sister and said, I'm going to marry the Wolfman. I'm going to marry the Wolfman.
It sounds so romantic.
Yeah, my sister's like, oh, God. She's only 3 or 4, but she's looking at me like I'm out of my mind already, And so, years and years go by. I'm 29 years old. I'm working in a restaurant, and a guy by the name of Talbot walks in there. I don't know that's his last name, and I end up marrying this guy.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah. He was my first husband. Yeah, it was really nuts. And I was like, oh, my God. And I barely remember. I kind of remembered something funny about that, but I didn't remember the last name of the Wolfman family in the movie.
Uh-huh.
And my sister actually brought this up. She was like, "Oh my God, that's the last name of the Lon Chaney's Wolfman family."
Yeah.
And I go, "Really?" She goes, "You said you were going to marry one." I go, "Yeah, I did, didn't I?"
That's hilarious.
Anyhow, Yeah, it was really funny. But that was just the beginning. I mean, there's so many like this. I mean, it's like my grandmother and I had a really special bond. I don't know if it was because we both saw the angel or the alien or whatever, but my family finally figured out when I was about 5 or 6 that her and I could just like know where each other was at all times. So my grandmother was working at a big company called Fred Meyer's, and she ran the garden centers and the florist shops and all that stuff. And she would, we'd be like, okay, let's see here. I'm just trying to figure out. Did you guys text me in Skype?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna ignore it then. Okay. Just wanted to
So y'all,
where are all these? I'm getting these bubbles. People are trying to get a hold of me, and I'm just like, is that them? I better go look. Okay.
That's because you're so popular.
Yeah.
No,
Well, I guess so. That's why I usually keep myself invisible. I turn myself to away, and now it's going to start. So I should not have done that. But anyhow.
But y'all weren't twins or anything. Y'all just kind of had this connection to.
Well, her and her grandma, not her and her sister.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
her grandmother.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, the grandmother. So I'm back to grandma. So my mom and dad would be like, well, she's working today, and should we, have her and grandpa down for dinner because we live next door to them, and blah blah blah. So what they finally figured out was that I could tell where she was at any given moment.
Whoa.
So instead of trying to call her and reach her on the phone, they just go, where's your grandmother? I go, oh, she's in. I close my eyes, and what I do, and I didn't know I was doing it at the time, it took Lynn Buchanan to tell me what I was actually doing back then, is I was remote viewing where she was.
Whoa.
I'd just like pop into her head, and then I'd look through her eyes, and I'd see like she's at the grocery store, or she was at a clothing store, or she was at work, or she was at the gas station.
And how old were you at this point? Do you remember?
5, maybe 6.
Wow.
That tops. This went on for about 4 or 5 years, but when I got older, it kind of dissipated. When I got to be about 9 or so, I couldn't do it as easily.
Yeah.
And there's a reasons why, but back when I was a kid, man, they used to just laugh. They'd be like, where's grandma? And I'd tell them, and I'd go, oh, and the phone would ring, and I'd be like running out the door to go play, and I'd scream, tell grandma I said hi, and they knew that it was her calling then, because I just give them the heads up.
Do you think that do you think that a lot of kids kind of are born with abilities that maybe they aren't sure of, or as they get older they lose them just because of I don't know, indoctrination of society and things like that?
Yeah, I think all kids are born with this, and I think some kids are just more open to being that way. See, what I think happens, and this is just a recent kind of epiphany, and I may be completely wrong, but I think what happens is I think fear is the tool that whatever is fighting us on this planet uses with children at a young age to get them to be afraid of their abilities.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use a great example. This is an example they use in psychology. There's a mother who's living in a 3-story building in New York City, and she's got a ledge, and she's got twin boys, and she takes the one boy up to the ledge, and she's dancing him on it, and he's looking out on the ground, and it's far away, and he's giggling and laughing, and he loves it, and he thinks it's so much fun. She takes the other boy, puts him up in the window, and he perceives it as terrifying, because it's a long drop and he's afraid instantly. So the rest of his life, he's afraid of heights. The rest of the other kid's life, he wants to be a pilot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that perspective.
Yeah. So it may be in this case, we're all born with that ability, but once you're confronted with it at one point, it might scare you and you don't use it again and you shut it down. Whereas somebody like myself who thinks, oh yeah, the Wolfman, how cool is that?
Yeah.
I open to it and I just keep letting it happen to me.
Wow,
and I think it's normal. See, I think it's just normal. I don't know that I'm supposed to be afraid of it.
Yeah. Do you think it? I mean, everybody's brain's a little different, but I feel like there's something to do with the way that our genetics kind of interact with how certain things kind of play out in our life, even when we're in like an adolescent child state, where if you're, scolded for drawing on the wall or something like that, something little that happened to you, just kind of, it's at that point in your life, it's so epic that it just kind of transcends the rest of your life. There, like, shuts down this part of your brain and this subconscious energy that
absolutely,
if you hadn't have gotten scolded and maybe like just kind of easily like, hey, that's not cool. Like, that's
draw on this paper instead.
Yeah, draw on the paper instead. And it just starts there.
Uh-huh.
I mean, maybe we're going into parenting or whatever, but
but then you grow up to not be an artist.
Yeah,
you grow up not being an artist then.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You had the potential, but now you don't have that potential because it shuts you down.
Yeah, I think those experiences like affect your brain so epically that it transcends through different aspects of your ability to access different parts of your consciousness and your awareness. Like, I think there's just these implications that we're not aware of yet, in those little moments that happen when we're young, because I feel like our spirit's so powerful when we're tiny, and we just, we don't remember a lot of it, but it's just like almost like our computer's rebooting or like building itself towards like all these little codes being written, and we don't know it yet because the computer hasn't started yet. We're just building our code database or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I went down a little rabbit hole there, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I would take that one step further. I think that the first time a person is abducted and remembers it or has any inclination that it's happened to them, how they react to the alien in that will set them up for the rest of their contact.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so because I tell this great story about my two friends when I was in my 20s. I met two women that I'm sure were contactees. One of them swears she would only commune with Jesus. The other one was having communion with Fabio. Do you guys remember who Fabio was?
Yeah. What?
Yeah. Well, she was a romance novel reader, so her alien turned into Fabio. And my other friend was very religious and she read the Bible all the time, so it was Jesus. And I was like, oh, this is so weird. It's an alien. What do you mean it's Fabio? What do you mean it's Jesus? And they were not afraid of them. And they accepted them into their life. And she really, my friend who thought it was Jesus, I swear to God, she thought it was Jesus. There was no denying. I said, it's an alien in disguise. She goes, no, it's Jesus. It's absolutely Jesus. He treats me wonderfully. We never have any problems, blah, blah, blah. And later in life, I heard she got regressed and finally figured out that they were doing all kinds of stuff to her. Yeah. But she never remembered any of it. All she remembered is that she was meeting Jesus and there was lots of love and light and happiness.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah,
and that's great. I mean, I think that's wonderful. But what about the guy who, is sucked through the wall and there's reptilians hanging around him with knives?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah,
that's traumatic. You even look at, so like, even if you look at like the Betty and Barney Hill story, right? Barney was traumatized by this. It like kind of really messed him up. But then you look at all the interviews of like Betty, and she seemed to have had like a pretty good time. Like she wanted to be taken again. Like, it didn't seem like to be that big of an issue for her. And even me and Ben have talked about that before. Like maybe your abduction experience kind of it kind of plays into the rest of the abduction experiences. Like, maybe some people are like, yeah, that's fine, I'm cool with this. And then some people fight it. And the people that fight it, it's a really traumatic experience for them, as opposed to the people who kind of just go with it.
Yeah. Dude,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to say quickly that everybody I know who has fought it absolutely had a terrifying experience in the very first, second, or third time they were with these guys, and they all think they're evil.
Right.
And they all think they're here to harm them. And I always say to them, have they cut you in half yet? Have they, whatever? And some of them say, yeah, they've cut me in pieces and put me back together again on the ships.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, now you perceived that happening. How do you know it was real? And how do you know that wasn't something that you created because you're afraid?
Right.
Yeah. I'm finding, man, that's so interesting. Like I'm kind of finding a duplicity between, we've all been to college. I've smoked marijuana. I've smoked weed a few times, and I had a bad experience when I first smoked. I don't smoke anymore, but does that make sense? Like a lot of people that have tried weed have had like a really bad experience, and then it's just they hate it for the rest of their lives. And then some people have a good experience, a good first experience, and it's always a good experience after that.
Right.
And I mean, I hate to like take it in that direction, but there is a real like duplicity there. I feel like there's a
it's
connection
based
there.
on what you make of your experience.
Yeah.
That kind of dictates where it's going to go from there on out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Yep,
I mean, that's
I
totally understandable
agree.
to be terrified.
Yeah.
Like if that guy who gets taken through the wall and is surrounded by reptilians, that has got to be something that obviously is going to be life changing. And ooh man, if you don't know how to deal with it,
And here's just a real simple example of the whole thing: the Travis Walton case.
Yeah.
He was petrified. And I don't blame him. He's come over the years that I've known Travis. He's come full circle now. He's gone from fear to okay to fear to okay. I mean, he goes back and forth, but now he's at peace with the whole thing and realizes they kept him alive. I mean, they actually killed him by accident, I believe, and then they brought him back to life.
Joe was talking about that. I didn't. Yeah, that's so interesting. Joe was.
How Travis thinks that if it wouldn't have been for them, that he would have just stayed there and died. That they actually brought him back to life. Yeah. That's he wrote on my little DVD. He wrote, they are here, but maybe not to fear.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was that was super powerful. Like so when I read that, I was like, whoa, that's cool. Good job, awesome. Travis. Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, everybody's experience is different, and we're all whoever is given this ability to remember or commune with them, they're on a different level than the rest of the planet. Sorry, folks, they aren't special, but they're just at a different evolved level.
Yeah.
Because they're able to actually have this communion, and I bring it back to this very simple thing, and that is, 10 people will be in a parking lot at night, and we'll all be talking to each other, and a giant black UFO triangle appears over our heads, but only 2 of them can see it.
Oh.
So there you go, and that happened to me. So I'm sitting here going, okay, I see the black triangle, my girlfriend Diane sees it, but everybody else is looking. I'm screaming, UFO, look up, look up. They're all looking around, they can't see nothing.
Really?
That's crazy.
So and I'm going, it's huge. I mean, it's like, how could you miss it, right? And the lights are on. I mean, it's like,
wow.
And, oh my God, I've got a great story for you guys. I told this last night for the first time on the show I was on, but I want you guys to have this too. This is a whole new path I went down that I'm just like freaking out about.
Awesome.
But, okay, do you guys know about the movie Extraordinary with the Stan Romanek story?
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yes. Yeah. Multiple times.
Okay. What is on that back porch in the sliding glass door when you see it?
You mean the alien that kind of pops up?
Pokes his head out?
I mean, to me...
the sliding glass door near the end of the movie where he's out on the patio. He's right outside the sliding glass door standing on the patio.
Maybe I haven't seen it enough times.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there's.
See, I gotcha.
Yeah.
This is really interesting, and I'm starting. I might even do a book just on that scene in the movie. Let me tell you why.
Yes, please do.
When I saw it, I've seen that movie. I think it's 9 times now. The first 5 times I saw it, and I'm only telling you this because of what my incident happened to me, okay? The first 5 times I saw it, I saw a gray alien, as clear as day, standing there on that porch looking at me in that camera, okay?
Okay.
Now, I see it for the 6th or the 7th time, and that alien turns into a black kind of mystical figure that I can't quite make out, but I know it's a gray alien, but I can't really see it, and I can see some eyes, okay?
All right.
Now, at that point, the gray alien I saw the first 5 times I saw it is erased from my mind.
Whoa.
Okay, because now I'm seeing a black blob. All right.
Okay.
I see it again because I keep telling myself, wow, something's wrong with that movie. I don't know what happened. Did they cut it? Did they take out a part? What's wrong? And I couldn't figure out, I couldn't put my finger on what was wrong. Okay. I watch it again. Still the same thing. Black blob. I'm like, something's really wrong. What did they do to the movie? They screwed it up. Something's wrong. Something's missing.
But you know what you saw.
I don't know. At this point, it's already erased.
Whoa.
Okay. Then I watch it again, and lo and behold, I'm laying in bed and I see the gray alien in the window, and I'm like, holy crap, there he is again. And I'm like, okay, that's what I completely forgot. And then I hear in my head, you guys are going to love this. We can control this is the same thing they told me in 2011. We can control your thoughts. We know everything you're thinking. We can see through your eyes. We can do all this stuff. And basically they had erased it from my brain so that they could put it to let me see it again. So I understood that they can do this to everybody on the planet, and that everybody that watches that movie is seeing a different thing.
Whoa, wait. So you have this communication with somebody that's basically telling you, hey, we've detected that you're calling our bullshit. Let me tell you how powerful we are. And so they show
That's
you
right.
So they show you again.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
And, this goes back to when I first, in 2011, I had a huge thing happen to me. And for me, it's huge. For everybody else, it's like a snore. But I had them pop into my head and tell me they can control our thoughts. They see through our eyes. They can do anything they want to. So they can make me do anything they want me to do, the whole bit. And I was like, I was stunned, and it didn't make any sense to me. But then later, 6 months after that incident, they started erasing pieces of my mind.
Holy cow.
I started fighting with them over it, and I started drawing pictures of the things they were trying to erase, and I put them by the side of my bed. So when I wake up in the morning thinking something's missing, I think they just went in my head again, I'd grab those pictures and I'd start staring at them, and sure enough, the thought would come back into my consciousness of what happened to me, and I can remember it. And it's not Alzheimer's, folks. I'm telling you, these guys.
No way.
I'm telling you, it's the absolute truth. And they can do stuff like that. And another thing they did for me, which is just mind-boggling, is they took out my implant. And after they took out my implant, which I begged for weeks for them to take it out. Finally, It got taken out. And about 7 or 8 days later, I wake up and I thought I was dead.
Whoa.
I was dead. I'll tell you why. There was no chattering in my brain. There was no thoughts in my brain. There was nothing. It was like a complete void of thought. It was dead silence.
Holy cow.
And I wake up and I experience this for about 20, 30 seconds. And I went, and then I had my first thought. My first thought was, oh my God, I've had a stroke. I'm either that or I'm dead or I've got a stroke. Because there's nothing going on in my head.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's see if I can lift my body up. And so I started lifting my arm, my leg, and I went, okay, I haven't had a stroke. Now what's wrong? And I laid there, and you guys, I started bawling like a baby because I realized something. I realized that every implant they put into people, it's a controlling device on what they can make you mate, they can make you get married, they can make you make kids, they can do anything they want to you.
Wow.
And we think it's all us.
Yeah, we think it's just our free will, but these things are controlling everything you do.
Right. And so I had to, from that moment on, I had to realize that I can quiet my mind to the point where I don't have any thoughts, which I'm able to do now, easily, and I can decide whether it's me making that decision or not.
Wow.
I finally found out who I was. And
wow.
I know this is going to sound, I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but I tell this to other contactees and their eyes light up and they go, oh my God, that's what's been going on all this time. They finally get it, because a lot of us end up marrying people we don't want to marry. We end up having kids we don't want to have. We end up doing things we don't want to do. And then we look at each other later and go, how did that even happen?
That's insane. So your life pretty much was flipped upside down when you had this implant removed.
Yeah. Well, it actually became my life at that point. I was 50 some years old, 55, I think, and whatever, or 52. I don't remember. It's been a while now.
So do you know when it got there? Do you know like when it was put there? Like when you were a child?
No idea. Yeah, probably. And it was right at the base of my skull, and there's a little. Yeah, I woke up and it hurt really, really bad. And you ask any contactee who's had an implant removed, they'll tell you it hurts like hell.
Wow.
Because it's integrated into your neurological system.
Yeah, it becomes a part of you, right?
Yes, exactly. So when this thing came out, it really hurt, and it felt like an incision had been made. But my roommate looked at it with a flashlight and said it looks like it's healed over for about a week or two. It's just red. Man. But I was like, oh my God. So they have amazing technology. Anyhow, my point to all this is, and the reason I'm telling everybody this is, I have had some insight lately into the new technology they're using on babies and young people, and possibly you guys.
Whoa.
I believe that they're implanting everybody on the planet, and they've got a new type of technology. They don't use the metal or the other types of, foreign metal or off-world metal or whatever anymore. They're not doing that because they've found out that, like Dr. Roger Lear and MRI machines are picking these things up, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So now what they've got is an organic substance that grows into your cartilage in behind your knee or your elbow or even in your spine. And it's not as invasive. I don't think it controls in quite the same way. I may be wrong, but I think they're using frequency technology instead of nerve technology.
Whoa.
And you guys got to remember something. There's a little brain in your stomach. There's a little brain in your intestines. Mm-hmm. There is all these bundles of nerves that act like a little second or third brain. And I believe they were controlling us mostly through those bundles of nerves with these implants.
Whoa.
And I think what they're doing, this is again my opinion only, is that these organic frequency or nerve frequency implants go directly to our brain. I think they bypass a lot of the other parts of the body, go directly to it.
They got smart to us figuring out, hey, there's these elements that shouldn't exist. I mean, patient 17. It was about finding these little pieces of metals, these composite metals that were made of like 17 different things on the periodic table that should not be in one.
Yeah, some things that were found in other galaxies you can't even find in the Milky Way.
So now that they know that, okay, well, they figured it out, so we got to up our game and make something biological, something different, and innovate.
That's right.
So it's something new.
Right.
And just so we're clear, like we're saying people, but really we're not. I mean, these aren't like people; they're the ETs, correct?
Well, yeah, and now this is where it gets even more complex. You got to remember, there's many different species of ET, and there's many different levels of ET. I called the Greys like the low-level guys, and the reptilians the low-level guys. They appear in 3D to us a lot of times. They can make themselves invisible. They can do all kinds of things, but you get on a higher spectrum of angels as aliens, and they're pure white light, and they don't really have a physical body when they come to you.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So, and then there's God, what I call the God alien, or the AI or whatever, and they're the ones that just jam my brain with these downloads, the consciousness AI or whatever.
Wow.
And I get all these crazy downloads, and you talk to a lot of contactees, and they're getting these downloads of mathematical equations and quantum physics and just amazing stuff. And I don't get that, sadly.
So Lorien, you mentioned these aliens that are made of pure light. It kind of made a connection with our previous episode. I actually have a family friend that I reached out to that has her own experience. And I recently just found out about this. I got her phone number, talked to her, called her, had a great conversation, and her one of her stories, she has multiple, but one of her first stories was she heard this sonic boom when she was sleeping as a kid, and walked into her hallway in her house, and 3 light beings kind of walked through the wall, and they were about like 8 to 10 feet tall, and they pointed something at her, and all she remembers is like a little bit of pain in her forehead, and then she blacked out, woke up on the floor in the morning, and she still has like a kind of like a skin scoop out of her forehead that, like, to this day. But yeah, I found that connection. You said, like, yeah, there's definitely aliens that. Or
now,
others.
did she go on to have contact with other types of aliens after that?
You know, she doesn't. She didn't recollect any seeing any kind of being. Her other stories. So she had like 4 stories. The first one was she had actually the one before that. The first one was when she was a little kid. She had an imaginary friend that her parents could not see, but she remembers physically seeing this being in her room playing with her as a child, and they would laugh and, like, you know, play games and stuff. But she vividly remembers this alien, you know, or not. I don't even want to say alien. It was something. But yeah, those are the only 2 instances that she saw beings. The other times were just orbs and things floating above her house, and
the 3 boys that came to her back door.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
that was strange.
But she didn't. All she saw was the boys, and the boys' faces were glowing as if it was like a hologram being projected on their faces.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lorien, have you ever heard of that? Like a projection of a human face?
Oh yeah. I've heard of stuff that, I mean, I sit here and I just go, I can't believe I've heard all this stuff. But yeah, I've actually seen stuff like that myself. There was a time. Oh God, there's so many stories. I think I'm going to tell you guys about the death of my boyfriend. Back when I was 19, 20, 21, something like that. I don't remember now. One of my first boyfriends, and he was quite a bit older than I am at that time. And I fell madly in love with this guy. He was an artist, and God, I was a professional dancer. And you guys know the story. It's the Van Gogh kind of thing going on. He's miserable. Right. He's miserable and depressed, and I'm an artist, and we're all in love, you know, whatever. Anyhow, so he killed himself. He went to the beach and he put a hose to the back of his Cadillac and just went to sleep. And
oh man.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And then, and this has really nothing to do with aliens or projection per se, but the reason I'm telling you this, you'll get it in a second.
Yeah.
So I go down to his ex-wife's house. I forgot to tell you guys, he had a daughter that was only a few years younger than I was, and a son, you know, about 8 or 9 years younger than me. And and the wife always respected me. She always loved me. She was very sweet to me, the ex-wife. And she said, come down to the house and stay with us while we do the memorial and the burial and all that, which was very sweet of her to do that. Now, looking back on it at my age, I think, God, what an amazing woman that was.
Yeah.
To accept me, the young girlfriend, you know, so whatever. Anyhow, so I get down there, and I'm sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag with my head in the same direction as the daughter. She's up on the bed right above me, okay? And I'm on the floor right next to her.
Okay.
And I'm laying in the sleeping bag, and I see my boyfriend, Bob. I see him appear at the foot of my sleeping bag or a few feet away from it, and he's holding a painting, and he looks projected. He looks like he's a hologram, like out of Star Wars, okay?
Yeah.
And he's pointing at this painting, and I hear in my head, do your art. Do your art. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I thought I was dreaming, but I realized my eyes are wide open. Okay. Wow. So I'm seeing him there. And at the same time I'm seeing him, his daughter kind of comes up on her elbows in the bed, and she's looking in the same direction. So I'm kind of freaked out. I don't say anything to her. She doesn't say anything to me. I know she's awake. She knows I'm awake, but we both go back to sleep. The next morning, we're sitting at the breakfast table, and she says, I saw Dad last night. And I said, I did too. And I go, what was he doing? And she goes, well, he looked like something, I don't know. She goes, I don't know how to describe it. It looked like he was a painting or something, but he was telling me that I was going to get married and I was going to have a son and everything's going to work out and everything's going to be great. And he was glowing, kind of like, he was neon or something.
Whoa,
like,
that's cool.
And I said, oh, that is really cool. I said, I saw him too, but he had a painting in his hand and he was telling me to do my art. She goes, oh, that's cool. So my point to all this is he looked like a projection. We know he's a ghost. Who knows if the aliens or ghosts or whatever have access to a thought process of bringing themselves to us however we can perceive them or however they want to be perceived. And he could have come to us as a rock. I don't know.
I mean, it also could be. I mean, I'm just posing questions here, but when you pass away and your consciousness maybe it moves to a higher dimension. Maybe if you're so connected to your loved ones that you could actually, your consciousness can project into lower dimensions, and it just so happens to look like a projection, and
exactly. So my point to that was the lady who saw, or your friend who saw the kids being projected, they looked like they were being projected. It might have been aliens doing that, because they do that all the time. I've heard of this so many times that it looks like there's somebody there, but then a person will walk up to it and they'll put their arm right through it like a holographic image.
Yeah, well, so the interesting part about this is that their bodies were physical, but they had only their faces glowed, and only their faces, they were children's size, because that's how old our family friend was, about 12, 13, and they were little kids, maybe 4 feet tall, and there was 3 of the boys that she went to class, had classes with every day. They went to the same school. And the only thing that was different was that their faces looked like they were being projected on them. And
that's I'm sorry, I'm going to start laughing, but that's a typical alien sighting as a kid, because what they do is they make you see what your friends, your sister, your kid, your cousin.
Yeah.
They do that all the time.
Yeah, and she said that these 3 boys were wearing clothes that they wore 3 years ago or something.
Exactly.
It was like a memory of, like, they chose a memory out of her consciousness to, like, project
to her.
Yeah, because she.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. That's what's going on.
Yeah, Susan was like, I called him out. I was like, why are y'all wearing these clothes that are, y'all wear those like 3 years ago?
She said that they were like really awkward.
Yeah, they were really awkward. Yeah.
That's funny. She's like being the fashion police to the ET kids.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Those shorts were so last summer.
Because then the next day, she when she went to school she talked to the boys about it.
Yeah,
and
the next day.
And was like, hey, why did y'all come to my house? And they had no idea what she was talking about.
Yeah, they were like, we don't even know. Like, what are you talking about?
Well,
they knew where she lived.
See, that's a very typical, very common experience for contactees. Very common. So I don't know if she knows that. She probably hasn't told anybody this, but you guys, right?
Well, it's an interesting thing. She doesn't want her name to be, broadcasted. She's only been to a couple of MUFON back. I mean, I think she's about in her 80s right now. She went to a few MUFON get-togethers in maybe the 80s or early 70s or something like that. Whenever it was a really big thing in Texas, because it's a small town Texas thing. But she told her story to a couple of people, but then she had this kind of overwhelming, she didn't say a voice, but overwhelming idea that, hey, you should stop talking, you should not tell your story. So she hasn't talked about this story other than like really close friends, never talked about it publicly. Yeah, and then I reached out to her and asked her, like, hey, would you be okay with me telling your story on the podcast? And she was very open to it. So, I mean, yeah, she's...
Well, this is interesting. She's 20 years older than I am, and she had that feeling back in the 80s or 90s or whenever she went to this meeting, or 70s. And back then, it's so bizarre, guys. even myself and everybody else was like clammed up. Nobody wanted to talk about any of this. It was just like it was programmed into us not to discuss it. You hit about 2005 to 2010, and it's like the floodgates opened. It's like suddenly the ETs hit the switch, and now everybody's talking about everything.
Right. Do you think that that's a choice that we manifested, or do you feel that maybe...
I think there was a lot of divine intervention with that one.
Like you said that they could control you.
Yeah.
Through, while watching that movie, it was kind of the same thing, like this mass control where they didn't want anybody to talk about it. So they made sure nobody talked about it. And now they decided flip the switch, and now everybody can talk about it.
Okay, so
that's right.
What about this idea is that we are very powerful beings, and we just finally got to a specific number that so many people had this energy and wanted to talk about it that we overcame the power that they had over us. That's a more positive way to look at it.
I'm right there with you on that, because that's where I kind of headed a few years ago, was that, maybe we've hit that tipping point, you know, where there's enough of us that are aware of it in consciousness, and with the viral technology, the computer technology, we're able to share anonymously through that, and because of that, we're not as afraid to talk to people about it in person either, or on a radio show or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
I think culture. I think our culture is just the most powerful thing, and it's just getting more complicated and more powerful. It's like it's pretty exciting. I mean, you think about all the stuff that's coming out, like the Navy confirming that we don't know what the hell those videos are. We've definitely known about this stuff for a while. The government's it's all kind of coming out this summer. I mean, this stuff happened years ago. I mean, you know that for sure, Lorien. But everybody kind of awakening. I feel like there's this social media awakening as well, which I believe is kind of like a second consciousness for everybody, Yeah. But it's
absolutely.
It's another kind of evidence that maybe we're more powerful than what we think, and maybe this kind of veil that's been covered over our eyes and our consciousness for a while is kind of being lifted by our own, doing. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think the aliens have a lot to say about it too. And I think we're coming around to the point where, within the next 50 years, there's going to be some kind of revealing of major contact. I really believe that. I may not be here to see it, but I think it's coming sooner than later. I hope I'm right about that. I hope it's not one of those things where we never get it.
Yeah.
We never get that, last step. We never get the childhood's end, because it's about time we do it. Childhood's end, the book itself by Arthur C. Clarke, did not have a good ending for us. I mean, we're destroyed by these aliens eventually, because we just can't get our act together and become part of the universe,
Yeah.
and stop hurting ourselves, So they just eradicate us because we're useless in the scheme of things.
So
there you go.
That kind of made me think of a little conversation me and Joe had before the podcast. Joe, if you want to elaborate on it at any time, we were talking about what was it at first, the contactee that was or the super soldier that was talking about, like, the reality of it's a grand experiment, and there's warring factions, and the humans are kind of like the experiment, and I kind of belt. If you want to go on,
I don't think that was the super soldier guy. I think that was just a side note that I had made, that I had heard about how they basically created all these different species on Earth.
Okay.
And they kind of sit back and watch it, like the Olympics. Like you grow up, and then everybody hates each other, and they fight each other off, and then whoever's left at the end, that's the winner.
Yeah.
Right.
So I kind of built on that, Lorien. If you want to interject at any time. I kind of had this idea, like, have you seen the movie Troy? Have you?
No, I haven't, but I assume it has something to do with the horse.
Yeah,
the Trojan
horse. So they choose, instead of their whole, there's two warring factions, and instead of killing thousands of warriors, they choose one from each side, their best warrior, and they fight, and whoever wins, they just go home, and which side wins is the winner. So instead of having an all-out war, they choose the one the best warrior they have. So I'm kind of thinking about this idea, just kind of mulling around. I want to see what you think about it, Lorien. Like, what if there's warring factions of extraterrestrials that have been at war for a really long time, but there's only about like 20 of them left, and they say, okay, well, if you destroy me, I'm going to hit that red button and destroy you if you destroy me, so we're going to be dead anyway. So why don't we just, instead of killing each other, create this species called humans, and then whoever wins these battles, that decides whoever gets, like, that's how they decide their battles or their wars.
Yeah, that's the winner for the next millennium or so.
Yeah,
they call the shots.
Oh my God, that is hilarious! I love it.
Isn't that cool?
It could easily be true, but hopefully time is very, fast for them, because if this is a video game, it's gone on for like a million years,
yeah.
And if they're playing it, they got all the time in the world, I guess, because, this is taking forever. I mean, Genghis Khan was thousands of years ago.
Good point.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're building, what is that game where you build up your civilization?
Yeah, Civilization. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that game.
Killing each other and building more civilizations.
Yep.
So, I mean, it could easily be. I have no doubt that it's probably something like that in a virtual reality for these guys that are controlling whatever. And, but like I said, they better have like instant time, because this whole game's playing out over billions of years with us.
Yep,
and it better be like 20 minutes for them.
Right. You gotta think like maybe they have a fast forward button, or like start at my last save button.
Exactly.
That just like easily explains all this stuff.
So that's too funny. I love it.
That's one thing that like always confuses me is, you get so many different like point of views on this. Like there are a lot of different races, ET races out there. Is that, a possibility? I mean, some are like, they don't like each other. Some do like each other. We talked about earlier how, they've been here for a long time, possibly before humans were even here, and they haven't killed us yet. They haven't, cut you in half or anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, so, I don't know. I guess that is the big question of like, what are they doing here, and which ones are cool and like which ones are not. I would assume it's just like humans. You got some assholes, and then you got some awesome ones. So you just kind of never know who you're going to run into, really.
And here's the kicker to all this. I'm really starting to believe we can't have one without the other.
Right.
And I think all consciousness is combined, and I think those, like, let's say there's 9 levels of alien. Well, we're 0. We're the humans down at the bottom, and there's 9 levels above us, and we all can't function without each other.
Wow. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's just the way it is, and maybe they have to, the 9th level beings, when they encounter a human, it's like they go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm this low on the pole, but hey, that's where I showed up today. I had something to do down at this, vibration.
Yeah,
and maybe they're really, all the time dealing with the guys at level 8. And maybe level 8 deals with level 5 more often, and 5 deals with 6. And, maybe we only deal with the reptilians and the grays and the whatever, because they're down at level 1,
Yeah, absolutely. So,
yeah.
I've always had this thought, too, of like, maybe a reason, why they're here checking up on us is we always talk about how humans as a species, maybe we just don't understand how powerful of a being we are. Like we just haven't unlocked that yet. And what if humans are kind of like the cowboys of the universe? You know what I'm saying? And we just don't realize it yet. And so they're all here kind of observing us and seeing where we are on that, evolutionary journey. Basically, they're like, hey, when these guys figure out their full potential, we better all watch out, because they're gonna come out. They're kind of keeping an eye on us.
Yeah. Well, here's the kicker. We have drugs right now that will expand, that'll kick in your pineal gland or whatever, and you can go commune with God, or basically the AI or the
Yeah.
consciousness that runs the universe.
Absolutely.
And if we could figure out a way to tap into that lysergic acid or an amino acid somewhere along the line that they don't want us to know about, or, God knows what, we may be able to every day start taking small amounts of what I always like to call the God molecule.
Yeah.
And very similar to the movie and the TV show about the guy who takes the drug that makes him super smart.
Yeah. Limitless, I think.
Limitless.
Yeah.
Correct. Thank you.
So,
And once we hit that level, and then we take, we're all limitless. And then when you hit limitless state, you're one step away from communication, telepathic communication.
right.
And once we hit telepathic communication, if we all are taking acid in a very tiny small dose at the same time, who knows that we all can't collectively get our minds together and become God.
Right. Just microdosing DMT all day. That kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Do some shroom tea.
But now remember, you're all connected telepathically, and there's no lies, there's no cheating, there's no killing, there's no bad thoughts, because everybody knows what you're thinking. You've now become the Borg, but more organic. Okay?
Yeah, definitely.
So just imagine that. Now, I think we're a couple hundred years away from that.
Yeah, I think we're getting close. I mean, you hear every day some new state has legalized marijuana. I think that's the first. I think that's the oldest consciousness altering substance that we're able to consume.
Did you know that we have more receptors in our body for cannabis than any other substance on the planet?
Whoa, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yep. Cannabinoid receptors. Look it up online, folks. It's amazing. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
And it's not just us. It's like animals too. Like dogs. Don't dogs have cannabinoid receptors? I think
I don't know. I've never looked into that. I only looked into humans. If my cat could do it, he'd be smoking doobies all day long.
Hey, I did a little bit of research, Lorien, and I found out that you have two tailless cats.
I had two tailless cats. One of them just passed on, and he's over the Rainbow Bridge. I'm looking at his little cedar box right now.
Oh.
And
you had a fundraiser for that, right? Like a little GoFundMe?
It was tragic. I had saved up a bunch of money for getting my cats dealt with, and I had about $1,400 saved up, and I went to this one vet, and they strung me along for a year and a half, basically. Oh, there's nothing wrong with him, he's just getting skinny. And I'm like, what? There's something wrong with him, he's sick, and this went on and on. They kept charging me. Finally, I ran out of my savings for my cats, and I finally had to do a fundraiser because I was like, are you kidding me? He's still not diagnosed. He's not doing well. He's not eating. I don't know what's going on. And I did the fundraiser for his cedar box for after he passed, because what happened was a friend of mine turned me on to this group that gave us enough money to take him to the vet, another vet. And the vet just looked at him, and in 30 seconds, picking him up and feeling his intestines, said, this cat has colon cancer, and he's had it for a long time, and I'm so sorry he was misdiagnosed, but he hasn't got long to live.
Oh, no.
That's sad.
Animals don't get skinny on purpose. They will get fat and fatter if you let them.
Yeah, and so I was just devastated, because if I'd known he had a cancer diagnosis that year before, there's many things in the market. When he first started just getting a little skinny, I would have given him MMS. I would have done all kinds of things and put his cancer kind of in semi-remission for a few more years.
Yeah, little kitty chemo.
I done that. Yeah.
Nice. I love that.
Whatever. But it's all natural. I would have given him cannabis oil. I would have done all kinds of things, and he would have been around for another year or two.
Yeah, definitely.
But because these swindling, don't even get me started on this veterinary clinic near me. It's called Affordable Veterinary Clinic.
Don't go to them.
Yeah, I go to them. They'll kill your pets and not tell you about it and just keep taking your money.
I feel like if the name affordable is in the name, it maybe not go there.
Yeah.
but I was looking for something affordable, and stupid me, I fell for it. You know.
Yep.
So yeah.
Well-
So anyhow, so that's my story with that, and I was still angry about it, but he was going to die eventually anyhow, and he was 15 years old, so
Well,
I did have him for time.
There's such important parts of our lives, and I think it's good to remember them as what they gave to you and what they gave to them, or what you gave to them. And animals is just so cool. Like we were talking about cannabinoid receptors and the brain, and I was asking, like, I wonder if there's cannabinoid. I think there is receptors in dogs and probably cats.
Yeah, and
too.
animals. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like wild animals will eat wild cannabis.
Yeah.
I think cows like to chew on it.
Yeah. I think you just came up with your new cash crop for your farm out there, Lorien.
That's right.
You got to get some CBD cow milk.
Beef. Yeah, cannabis beef and cannabis milk. I love it.
Have a bunch of stoned goats walking around.
So good, dude. Yeah.
Oh God, you guys! I'm laughing so hard because I have a cousin. This is so funny you said that. I have a cousin, and she used to have a goat farm out in Auburn, California, and she moved, but it's a long story. Anyhow, these goats would always break into her pot area. She had it all covered in. She had it fenced in. She'd do everything she could, but these damn goats break in and start eating all of her pot, and they get stoned out of their mind. They would try to jump up on these rocks and they'd fall over. And, it would just be like, oh my God. And we'd sit there in her living room on the couch, and she had a big picture window, and all the rocks were out in front and on a hillside. And we just sit there and we called it Goat Stone TV because we just sit there and howl and laugh about all the stone goats running around, falling down, and falling over each other, and laying there. They're dead and they're out of their mind, stoned. Oh my God, it was ridiculous.
That sounds like better than any TV show that's literally on TV right now.
Exactly.
I would watch that all day.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Stone Goat TV is what we called it, and it was just so much fun. I couldn't believe that I actually fell for that for hours at a time.
I love that.
Anyhow,
Oh, that's so funny.
Damn it! The goats got into the. Like, okay, well, let's all get a drink and sit down and watch it. Yeah.
They're like world expert climbers, and they can't even stand on a rock.
They'd be falling on each other and falling over, and oh my God, it was just stupid. But yeah, so I've seen stone goats. They get stoned different than people. It's hard to explain. They kind of like walk 4 steps and then they stand there and they just stare. And then they'll move around, and then they'll try to take a bite of food, and they'll kind of do it real slowly.
Is that you like put like a hot pocket out there?
Then their head pops up, and then it just kind of stays there for like a minute. Like, okay, what are they doing? They don't even know what they're doing.
They're like, whoa,
I'm a goat.
whoa.
Or wait, you're a goat too.
What are these things on my head?
Whoa. Wait, I'm a goat.
God. I had thought about that for a long time. Thank you very much.
Oh,
that
was
was
hilarious.
Wait, I have shoes that are like my feet.
My feet. These are rock climbing shoes. Did I get these at a REI?
Oh yeah, dude.
Start contemplating the universe and everything about it.
Yeah.
whole comic strip, you guys. A whole comic strip.
Maybe we'll make a special T-shirt for just this episode. That's like a goat standing on a rock and like falling over.
Or we could make our own beer, our own UFO Garage Stone Goat.
Oh,
Stone Goat beer.
I love
That'd
that.
be sweet.
Yeah, I like it. Oh, you guys could be all kinds of ideas.
Love that.
Oh man. So Lorien, another thing I wanted to get into was I know that you're into the super soldier thing.
Yes.
And I know that you used to put on conferences, but you don't do that anymore. Is that correct?
Oh God, you guys! I'm just getting the willies. Okay.
Well, whatever you could talk about, you know.
Yeah, it's. Oh God, where do I even go with this? This is okay. I'm going to tell you guys the story, and this is going to take about 10 minutes.
That's
so just
fine.
sit back, everybody, and grab your weed.
Well, if you say so.
Good story. Okay. I was, oh God, it was 2011, and it was May of 2011, and I had just gotten over about a year battle with getting better from almost dying. And I had decided after my near-death experience with this horrible pneumonia that I got, where I ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. I was in ICU for 3 days. I thought I was going to die, the whole 9 yards. And then I lost all my clients, and then I was like begging people to pay my rent kind of thing. I finally decided I wasn't going to play the corporate game anymore and do all that. And I was going to start my own business, which I did do. And I decided I was going to go into the UFO paranormal community as a manager of speakers and authors, and which I had done in the past. I'd done that in the 90s, and I'd started 3 publishing companies and blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, long story short, I decided to change my whole life because it took me 3 months to be able to get out of bed and actually sit in front of a computer and work again.
Yeah.
So when I finally did this, 2010, I get a couple of clients, and I'm starting to meet people. And I met Tom Danheiser of Coast to Coast, and a bunch of us started getting together and talking about, well, who can you get on the show? And I'd find people for Coast, and I'd find people that needed a manager or needed their book published or what have you. And I did that for about 6 or 8 months. Then one day in May of 2011, I'm listening to Carrie Cassidy's show, and she has a woman on the show who's now passed on. Her name is Asolaria Liberalis, and she's talking about the DNA of the human body and how the Greys have actually put an energetic lock on the DNA in different places in the DNA structure. Whoa. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, that corresponds with what they've been telling me. I've got So I get a hold of Carrie, and I say, do you have her phone number? She said, yes, here it is, blah, blah. I call her, and I say, oh, by the way, I listened to your show. I thought it was fabulous with Carrie. And by the way, do you need a manager? You need somebody to help you get out there and meet people.
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, I do. And I said, okay, cool. So we were talking a few times. Now, it starts getting very convoluted and complex here, so everybody just hang in there. It'll all make sense in the end. Okay.
We're interested. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is May. Now, about the middle of July, I'm on the phone with her again, and I'm sitting there, and I'm listening to her talk to me, and I have this very profound spiritual moment. And I can't explain this to people unless they've actually had it happen to them, but I made a very conscious spiritual decision that I was going to dedicate my life to the pursuit of getting the truth out. Okay. And I did it in that moment. It was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, this is my mission. This is what I meant to do. Now, whether the aliens gave me the feeling or whatever, I don't know, but I can tell you this, it was a good feeling. It was good aliens if they were intervening. And I felt like I had purpose, and I felt like I was closer to God than I've ever been in my entire life. Now, this all happens in a fraction of a second. Okay, while I'm listening to me on the telephone, and I have no idea why it's happening then, because that's like the last, I'm trying to pay attention to what she's saying, and I don't need all this spiritual crap happening while I'm on the phone doing business, right? So, but it happens quickly, and I feel it. I actually feel it in my body, and within half a second of that feeling in my body, or less, a helicopter is over my house as loud as day, and it is like 100 feet over my house or less, and it's circling around my house, and we never heard it come. We never heard it. It just is there, and the house is shaking, okay? My roommate runs out to look at it. My neighbors are all out. I see through the back patio door. My neighbor next door is looking up at this helicopter. Everybody's out there looking at this thing. Nobody heard it come over the house, which is kind of interesting. And then the next day, everybody's like, who was that? What were they doing? Are you a drug dealer? I was getting all kinds of but it was just, at that time, I didn't understand what it was, but I'll tell you guys more as we go on. So it finally leaves, and we hear it leave, and it goes away, and it's there for about 45 seconds to a minute, okay, circling the house. So we just thought it was some kind of weird thing happening. Now, I did live in an area at that time where they did Coast Guard training up and down the river, and they also did some little war games over at a park, near us. And I just thought stupidly that was probably part of that, and I just didn't pay any attention to it. So, so that happened. So now we're coming up on August, and I call Solaria and I say, Carrie Cassidy and Bill Bryan are having a conference called Awake and Aware. It's going to be September 20 and 21 or something like that, 2011. Do you want to go with me? And I'll rep you, and I'm going to rep other people. I'm going to get a table there, and we'll just, meet people. And she's like, yeah, that sounds great. So I'm driving down to there, and I'm going to pick her up at the airport in LA, and I'm driving from San Francisco down to Irvine, where the conference was. And I'm thinking to myself, and to this day, I have no idea why I thought this. I really don't. I'm thinking about the Art Bell program where they had Dave Corso and Duncan O'Finian on the show, and they talked about all the super soldiers. And then I thought, the reason I did think about it, now I remember, is because Carrie had Duncan speaking at her conference. And I thought, then I started thinking about the Art Bell show, and I thought all the super soldiers I'd heard about and read about that Carrie and Bill were bringing out, and I thought, oh God, no one's ever done a conference for these guys. Now I'm an old conference producer. I've been producing conferences 4 years, and about that time I had been approached by Brian William Hall, who did Conspiracy Con, to do the first UFO con Bay Area, and we became partners. So as I'm driving down, I'm thinking, I got to get people for UFO Con, but why hasn't anybody done a conference for these guys? Super soldiers.
So you've known about or you've heard about super soldiers before all of this.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. So you're kind of like riding this this wave of things that's happening. And you're like, I have to get this truth out. So I'm just kind of catching. Okay, cool.
So as I'm driving down, I'm thinking, well, shoot, I should put the feelers out and see if these guys want a conference. I'm just kind of being me. And I get there, and it's Friday night. Now, I'm going to go through the whole details. So it's so bizarre, but anyhow. So Friday night, we're there. We set up our table. Solaria, I picked her up at the airport. We're all good. We're staying in an Airbnb house. I go in. Solaria, come with me. We're going to go see Duncan O'Finian talk. It's free. It's Friday night. The place is packed. I mean, it's packed. There's 500 people in this room. And it's just so hard to get that nowadays. It's unbelievable. But anyhow.
That's a lot of people.
It was amazing. It was packed, and there were standing room only. People were standing around the edges. So Duncan's up on stage talking, and I'd heard him speak before, so his story was not new to me. But what he had brought with him was his girlfriend. Her name AX, and she was on stage for the very first time talking about things that had happened to her in her life, and how she met up with Duncan again, and how they were back together. And so she starts discussing what's going on with her. And then at one point she says, I always hear a voice screaming in the back of my head. And I was like, oh my God. I almost fell off my chair. I'm looking around the room going, is anybody else falling off their chair right now? Because that was probably the most powerful statement I'd heard in like years. And he'll tell you why. Back in my 20s, I used to try to meditate, and every time I'd meditate, I hear a girl's voice screaming in the back of my head, screaming at the top of her lungs. And I went to my therapist at the time, and I said, I'm having trouble meditating. There's a lot of screaming going on in my head. I'm freaked out. What?
So she's explaining your exact experience.
Exactly. But I'm gonna give you the backstory and then the forward story. So anyhow, I'm at the therapist's office in my 20s. Now you gotta remember, I'm in my late 40s at this time, or 50. And so back in my 20s, I see the therapist, and she goes, well, you told me that story about eating the rat poison. Maybe that's you as a baby screaming in the hospital, and you're just remembering it, like post-traumatic stress disorder. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's got to be what it is. She goes, so don't meditate.
Easy.
I said, okay, that solves that problem. And she goes, if you ever want to address it, then you will, and you can meditate again. And I'm like, okay. So I never thought about it again. I was 22 or 23 back when I got that advice. And I just never thought about it again. So she's on the stage. It's 25 years or 30 years later. I'm hearing her say this, and I'm like, oh my God. And I just flipped out. I was like sitting there just freaking out. And I grabbed Ace Solaria's arm and I said, we got to get out of here, because I was freaking out. And she goes, oh no, I've got to talk to them. They know something I've got to know. I've got to talk to them. And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to them. So now I am so flipped out about what she says. I'm thinking, I'm never going to talk to them. I'm never going to talk to them about a conference. I don't want to do anything to do with these people, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh no, we got to talk to them. So I'm like, oh God. Well, so I said, well, we'll talk to them tomorrow. So I avoided them completely on Friday night. We just left there, and I was like, okay. So by Saturday, I'm calming down quite a bit. I thought, well, that's just some weird coincidence and whatever. And so we go through Saturday. We listen to all the speakers. I talk to Bob Dean. I'm having a great time. Everything's good. I'm calmed down now. And then Saturday night, she says to me as we're leaving, she says, I really want to talk to Duncan O'Finian. Now, I must say that during that Saturday afternoon, I ran into Aaron McCollum, who was also at that time supposed super soldier. And I said to him, Aaron, if I put on a conference for the super soldiers, quote unquote, would you be there? And by the way, why aren't you on stage at this conference? And he goes, I'm not on stage because Duncan O'Finian hates me, and I can't be in this program with them. And I said, well, if I put on a conference and you guys hate each other, could you do it as long as I don't put you on the stage together at the same time? He goes, oh yeah, I can do that. I said, okay, so that'll work. And
hey, so I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lorien, but just for people that are listening that don't know the term super soldier, would you mind kind of like a quick index of?
Well, this is tough because there's actually three levels of what I call super soldiers.
Yeah.
The first one is military super soldiers, and that is the type where they put extra metal in place of bones, or extra enhancing chips in your brain where you can hear communication from somebody at a control panel, or if they've taught you how to shoot by using drugs to enhance your ability for your muscles to work. They were doing all kinds of crazy experiments on people starting in the late 60s all through the 70s, and Duncan O'Finian was one of the first guys out there that actually had a metal rod in place of a bone in his arm.
Wow.
Yeah, or was it his shoulder?
Like Wolverine kind of stuff.
Dude.
Yeah, and this was back when they were experimenting with titanium to replace bones that had shattered, that they couldn't replace. And so this came at, all of that medical miracles came out of the super soldier programs of the late 60s and the 70s. So they were also trying to build a stronger human being to endure
So just a quick little sidebar. So Wolverine, we're talking about this replacing of your bones with a really super strong metal. It's called adamantium in the comic books.
Yeah, the comic books.
Adamantium is also the name of the company that bought out Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
Just a little sidebar.
Oh,
just wanted to.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I just want to insert that. Sorry.
Oh, I did look that up. Yeah, that was very interesting, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to just derail you.
No problem. You're making me smile. I'm laughing. But anyhow, so that's one level of super soldier, and that is the level I was more familiar with back in the early, mid 2000s and up to 2012 or 11 or 12 when I first started the first super soldier mind control conference. But the second level is people that are having they're kind of like, I would say, the Corey Good type, where they're and trust me, I have no love loss for Corey Good at all. I can't stand the person, and
I think I
have no problem saying it live on air, because if he wants to sue me, come get me. I have no problem. But anyhow, the point is, people that are doing astral, what I call astral, other dimensional work with the ETs and aliens on a warring level, okay, or a secret space program level, that type of thing. And then there's a third group that are more, it's not really battle, but it's more like they're taking these people and testing them in another dimension or time space to see how humans react and live. I call them spiritual warriors now.
Yeah.
Because that's another whole thing I'm not going to go into now, but it will be in my book if I ever get it finished.
Awesome.
About super soldiers, because I really think there's so many levels to it and people just don't get it. So
let's go. We need a handbook, Lorien. You need to let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I just God, between my full-time job and everything else, it's almost impossible. But anyhow, so okay, back to the story. So I talked to Aaron McCollum. He says, yeah, I'd be able to do it. And then I'm thinking, well, I really should talk to Duncan, but I really don't want to talk to Axe because I know I'm not going to keep my mouth shut about the screaming thing. So I think I tell Asolaria Saturday night, I said, let's just get out of here. We'll talk to them on Sunday. We're here all day tomorrow. They are too. Don't worry about it. So I'm trying to sneak us out. I take us out by the swimming pool, over by the garbage cans, and guess who's laying in wait for us over by the garbage can smoking cigarettes? It's Duncan and his girlfriend. So I'm like, oh, damn. She goes, Asolaria runs up to Duncan and starts talking to him, and I walk over to Axe, and I say, hey, how's it going? Whatever. And she looks at me and I said, yeah, it was interesting, your story. And I'm trying to chit chat. Finally, I can't hold it in any longer. And I just blurt out, I said, so what about that screaming thing in your head? And she goes, and she looked at me, you guys, and I swear to God, I give her credit every day of my life. I thank her every day of my life for saying this to me. She said, Lorien, maybe you don't want to know about it.
Whoa.
And I thought to myself, you know what? I don't need to know about it, because if I do, it could change me on the path I'm on. It could change me as a human being.
Oh,
it
yeah.
could be something horrible. It could be
Yes.
something benign. I don't know. But do I really need to go down that path?
Right.
And I thought, no, I don't, because it doesn't matter. Because if it's something that happened, I can't change it, and
Right.
there you go. And I'm a good person, and I'm where I'm at now, and I'm happy. And why do I want to do that? And because she said that to me at that moment, at that time, I never got sucked up into the what, why me loop that every other person who has been through any kind of mind control or dealt with aliens or anything that goes on this planet to make you not who you are.
Right.
Most people that find out they've got this kind of stuff going on, they are perpetually stuck in a programmed loop that says, why me? Who can help me? How can I find somebody to help me? Once they help me, I don't believe them, and I'm going to go back to why me? Who can help me?
Right.
Yeah.
And they go from one person to the next person to the next person, and you can help them all you want, but they're not ever going to hear you.
Well, so what I'm thinking of is Lorien, just talking personally for a second, is your purpose on this planet is to just get this information out there and to help people. Like, you have to. I'm thinking right now, had you gone down that road, this path would have never happened, and
that's right.
all the way
That's
up to us, we would
true.
never have met you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you probably, with that willpower and that decision not to dig any deeper, have probably, and you've got to believe in some sense that it was a positive output of that decision, and maybe it was willpower at the time, or it was just kind of like a voice inside of your head, or maybe something that came over you said, you know what, maybe
it was
not.
Relief.
Yeah.
It was relief.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I don't have to get caught up in all this. This is great.
And nobody
I was
ever
like,
says
oh my
that.
God.
Everybody tries to figure it out.
Right,
Nobody
right.
ever says, maybe you don't want to know.
Yeah, well, it's human nature. It's we're our frontal lobes are meant to solve puzzles and to combat that and say, no, I know I could solve that puzzle, but to choose not to really makes us an elevated species, I feel like.
Right,
and we
right.
do that every day, like on a subconscious level, but when those decisions we're faced with those decisions and we fully say, you know what, for future me, I'm gonna not go ahead and dig into that, So I don't know. I'm kind of bragging on you for a second, Lorien.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. I appreciate that. So, but anyhow, so then the weekend gets weirder. If you think that was very profound for me, as you guys attested to right there, it was very profound for me. And it's hard unless someone's had something like that happen to them, they don't understand how profound that moment is, because it's a choice between becoming part of the problem or rising above it, basically, in my opinion. So, anyhow, so we tootle on that evening and go get back to the Airbnb house, and here's what happens next, and this is where it gets so crazy. We get to the house, and Asa Laurie goes into her room. It was off on the left of the hallway. Mine's at the end of the hallway. I go into the room, and I jump into my pajamas, and I think I brush my teeth, and how long does that take? 5 minutes maybe at tops? And I know she's doing the same thing, and I suddenly realized that I have not checked my email all day. And I went, oh, God. So I grab my laptop. I sit down on the side of the bed. There's a little table there. And I plop the laptop on it, and I flip the laptop lid up. And as I'm flipping the lid up, I think to myself, I wonder if Asa Laurie remembers the day the helicopter was over the house. And that, because I told you guys that story, and she was on the phone, by the way, and she heard the helicopter.
Wow.
Okay. And I said to her, do you hear that? She goes, yeah. So so my thought was, for some weird reason, I thought that. And it took all of a fraction of a second to think that sentence. You know, it doesn't take, your brain doesn't do it in sentences or time. It's an imprint of a memory, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm saying to myself, I wonder if she remembers this. And while I'm thinking that, lo and behold, there is a helicopter over that house.
No.
I swear to God. And it's louder than the other one was. And I think all the dogs in the neighborhood are waking up, and I think all the lights are switching on. And I'm thinking, oh my God, everybody in the house is going to wake up, and I'm freaking out. And I'll tell you more about that later. But then I pop up, I stand up real quickly, and the next thing I know, I'm frozen there, and I'm getting what I guess is a download. Because what I'm getting is, we can see through your eyes. We know what you're thinking at any given time. We can control you if we want. We can do this. And it goes on. It's a giant. It's not like they were saying that sentence to me, but it's like they imprinted all this information into me about themselves.
Oh my gosh.
And then they also said to me, and it wasn't in a sentence, but I knew I was on a mission for them. I was helping them.
Was it kind of was it like a different type of like download of information, as like when you were telling the story about the movie, how they were telling you that they have control? Was it kind of the same, or was it like a different?
This one was different. This one was more like it's like an emotional imprint with information as well. I can't explain it. It's so bizarre, and other people that have had it happen know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like they show you pictures, and there's no verbal communication during it, but
right.
It's like you know it. It's like you're hearing in your head. We can see through your eyes, but that's not what they're not saying it.
So do you? Yeah, I mean, it's just so bizarre. I'm trying to like logically break it down, but like be very open as always, but I have to think, like, the appearance of this black helicopter is so common in a lot of these stories, as you've seen personally. Do you think we were talking about earlier, like maybe we manifest our reality? Do you think that like did other neighbors witness this thing, or do you think it's just a screen memory of a ship?
Let me tell you what happens next, because this is you guys will laugh. You just laugh. So I'm getting this imprinted information, right?
Yeah.
And I finally break away from that little state of whatever I'm in, and I make myself walk to the window to look up at the helicopter. Okay. Now, I look out the window, but there's no helicopter there. There's 3 balls of orange light in a triangle formation.
Whoa.
And I'm like, what? And then all I remember is backing up from the window and thinking to myself, I'm really tired. I'm going to go to sleep.
Ooh.
Now,
that's common.
Yeah, this doesn't happen to Lorien. Lorien doesn't do that. When she's got a helicopter or a triangle.
Yeah, you're not thinking go to take a nap.
This all screaming, waking everybody up. Come out, look at the hell, whatever. That's what I do, because that's what I did when I saw one again later in 14. I was screaming and yelling and what have you. So I don't know why I backed up and went to sleep, but all my friends that are contactees do. They all said I was taken and I was just being put back and told to go to bed. So the next day, I asked everybody, did you hear that helicopter? God, it was so loud. I was freaking out, and they're all like, we didn't hear anything. So again, it was basically the aliens put that in my head to get my attention, because I had that thought. I wonder if she remembers the helicopter over the house, and then all of a sudden there's a helicopter. They give me a download. Then I'm taken, or I'm not, or I just see the ship or whatever. And the next thing I know, it's the next day, and nobody's heard this helicopter.
Yeah, so back to the Stan Romanek story. I mean, he has video evidence of these helicopters kind of being around him, and he's video evidence. So we know that these things happen physically and actually happen. Yeah. But I wonder if there's a mix, maybe there's some screen memories going on, because Lorien, I've heard many stories of people okay, so I'll get this kind of thought or feeling to go outside, and then all of a sudden there's this black helicopter outside. But it makes me wonder, maybe there's this screen memory of when you're remembering it, there was actually a ship, or maybe there was...
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you guys, because the helicopter thing has been very prevalent since about the 80s, and you can listen to Carla Turner's presentations about the helicopters that were actually from the Army, and then the ones that she thinks were all ships.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. It's been the helicopter thing is very intriguing.
Yeah, because even your interview with Eric Mitchell, that was incredible, and he talks about being harassed by the helicopter when he's in the same house as Travis and all of them when they were roommates and stuff.
Yeah.
And he tells a story about being naked in the shower and just looking up and thinking, "Fuck you guys."
That's awesome.
Eric's great, man. He's going to be speaking for this is the second time he's ever spoken to a crowd at my conference coming up.
Right.
Whoa. Cool.
Yeah, he's going to be there.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. I never know what Eric's going to say.
We want to come too, by the way, Lorien.
Yeah, we want to go.
Oh, I hope you guys can make it, because it's really going to be a very special event. And, I say this every year, but I kind of got a feeling this may be my last one. I'm getting old. I'm getting tired. It's a lot of work putting this together. I always lose money. And, it's just, and I'm not saying I'm doing it for the money or anything, but I'm just saying it gets to be real, time consuming and a lot of work. So, but anyhow.
Yeah, well, you got so much spunk.
Yeah, today's one of those days I don't, because I'm way behind at work and I'm freaking out, and there's a lot of things going on in my life. But maybe by next week I'll change my mind. Who knows?
Yes.
It's a weekly thing at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if you're losing money, it's damn. After a while, it's it actually affects your life. So I mean, I don't think anybody's going to fault you for that. I mean, there's so many people that benefit from these things. I'm sure you'll figure something out. Me and Joe actually thought about there's actually nothing in Austin that's
we want to put one on.
So maybe if you want to consult on if we want to, we're actually thinking about putting a small thing on. I don't know. We don't know anything about events, but if you're thinking about,
I'll tell you what, I've got. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Talk about this later, okay? Because there's a whole thing about events, and the Storm Area 51 thing was a bunch of guys going, "Oh, let's put on a conference," and then nobody shows up.
What do you think? What did you think about that? What was your reaction?
You went out there, didn't you?
Oh my God. I what can I say? I call it Snoring Area 51 because literally nobody was there. I mean, it was just we went out there. I was with Misha Johnston, and she was going to do a Skywatch out at the base camp event, and my buddy Michael Hall was out in Rachel, and I was going to do a live broadcast, and he was doing his live broadcast, and we were going to kind of join them up on Facebook as simulcasting together. And I was going to even actually drive out to Rachel on Saturday and join them. But here's what happens. I get there, there's nobody there, and there were nobody paying to be in there, and all there was media and police,
vendors,
and that's it.
Yeah.
And vendors, and we
Yeah.
were one of the vendors, and that was it.
Yeah.
There's nobody out there, and I was just so, and they shut it down. They came by later in the evening, about 8 o'clock, and said, "We're not doing this tomorrow. No one's here, so pack it up." And that really made me mad.
It's the first year, I think after seeing some video of people that went there, I mean, it's definitely like, if you build it, they will come kind of mentality.
Yeah, I think
like,
a whole bunch of people were like, "Oh shit, they actually did it.
Yeah.
Let's go next year."
Yeah. So I mean, I honestly want to go next year now that I see, like, okay, it's no one's getting shot.
Yeah, nobody got mowed down.
Well, I gotta say, I've been the Rachel event. They had about 400 or 500 people the first day, and they had about the same amount the second day. And to me, you guys, I'm sorry, I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and a bunch of people sitting around going, "Oh, I saw an alien," I've been there and done that. So I'm not so thrilled about it. To me, it's a waste of time and money. But if people had a good time, that's great. Happy for them. That's wonderful. But I think what these people should be doing is going to their MUFON meetings on a regular basis, or making their state MUFON people build them a meeting that they get to go to once a month, which is exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
bunch of people sitting around talking about aliens.
It's just that. See, that's what people would. I mean, that's what everybody needs if they're really interested in the subject. But it's just not as sexy as like this, social media craze, like event.
Woodstock of alien type thing.
But in reality, everybody's looking for that. Exactly what you said, Lorien, like just a meeting where everybody gets together and talks about UFOs. Like that's what everybody's wanting.
That's what I do every month, and I'm doing it this Saturday, and it's just going to be fabulous, and everybody has a good time, and they all know I'm here every, not every first month, but because I go off to different events and sometimes I just can't be here, but I try my best to have at least 8 to 10 meetings a year. We always have our big UFO Christmas party the first Saturday in December, and everybody has a blast, and we give away gifts. We have a green alien gift exchange, and it's just so funny what people will steal from each other.
Yes. That's awesome.
And it's all UFO gift related or alien related or crystals or, books or videos. And it's so much fun. I mean, and this is all a family of people that really need to be with each other once a month. And that's what I say. Don't wait till, September 20th to do it. Make a meeting in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Start a meetup. Do something. Get everybody together. And somebody has to lead it, because I'll tell you this is the biggest problem we've got in this whole community. We've got a whole bunch of followers and very few leaders. And so if you guys, here's what you should do. Instead of putting on a conference, which you're going to get a few people here or there or whatever, and what I would do if I were you guys, I'd have the UFO Garage meetup once a month and get everybody together in Austin and meet at a pizza place with a big room in the back, and bring in speakers on Skype.
That would be awesome idea. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, that would be great.
That's what I do.
Pizza and beer is what built this podcast.
Exactly.
Hey, pizza and beer is what built my body.
Yeah.
So there you go. I didn't get this big for nothing.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's not your last year to do this conference, because we're so stoked to go. And as you know, we're so new to this, this community. I mean, this podcast is so new to us, and the community of conferences is so new to us. So but I would totally understand your concerns about kind of continuing this thing. But yeah, I'm really glad we met you. And
saying that every year for 10 years though. So if you ask Linda, she'll just look at you and roll her eyes and go, "Oh, she says that every year."
I can picture her doing that. Absolutely.
Yes.
You guys are going to have Melinda on the show pretty soon, right?
Yeah, I have not reached out to her. I definitely want to reach out.
I talked to her last night, and I said, the UFO Garage guys are getting together tomorrow. She goes, "Oh, I want to be on there too."
Yes!
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, she'll probably be pretty close next on the list.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then Jocelyn too, because I mean that's how we met you guys. I mean, I don't know if you know this.
she has amazing stories, and it's like nobody knows who she is in the community, but I'm always in awe of her. I think of her as our leader mother, man. She's got stories that'll blow your mind.
I agree. Yeah, well, I mean, we met her so randomly. Me and Joe were sitting at the bar at the hotel, and we were just eating lunch and started chatting with Jocelyn, and I mean, that's how we got to know you guys, is just through her, and yeah, we had no idea who she was, but like, I don't know.
We were getting ready to leave, and we ended up staying like an extra hour.
Yeah,
just chit chatting.
Yeah, it was super cool.
I think it's wonderful, you guys, and I want to thank you too, also, for being very open to the people at those conferences that aren't the quote unquote big names.
Oh yeah,
because the problem, and you know, you guys know how I feel about this. I do not like these big name people. My problem with them is they've got to be on a stage, they've got to tell you stuff, and they've got to keep making money, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's very politicized for sure. It's there's something fishy about it, and I think we all kind of, both me and Joe, knew it deep down. But when we heard you guys, like, y'all have been in this culture for a long time and kind of speaking about it, really kind of made us realize, okay, yeah, we should probably call bullshit on a lot of this stuff, which all of it came out to be true. Like,
and a lot of the lesser known people have the best stories.
The best stories, yeah.
Oh, I know.
Best.
See, that's why we all keep going to the conferences. I laugh. People say, how many speakers did you see? And I go, always none. Or one, you know, and they go, why do you not pay? You pay to be there, you know, whatever, and you don't see anybody. I go, why? I can listen to them spouting the same story over and over again for the last 15 years. I don't need to see them on the stage. And I said, I go there to meet new people that are contactees that have amazing stories that blow these guys out of the water on the stage.
Yes.
You know,
I think,
and that's why. Yeah,
I think that's like the most profound part that I took away from that. I think me and Joe would. I mean, maybe I'm speaking for you,
100%.
Dude, like, it's just, I mean, we kind of went into this the conference like we're such newbies. I mean, we just love this topic, and we just love people and talking and hearing people's stories. And the most value, I would spend double what I spent on that ticket just to be in a room with all the people we ended up talking to. Like, at the end of the day, you know what I mean?
I got more out of the vendor area, just meeting people than I did in the actual conference room. You know?
Oh, I know.
Or down in the
so
bar.
Just remember, next time, just pay the $8 a day to go in the vendor room.
Yep.
Exactly. That's so. Yeah. That's great advice.
I know. I just laugh because if I don't get in I always get in for free or very little, you know, because I've been doing this a long time, and we get a table, we split all the costs, you know, and I don't, and when I buy a table, I usually get into the speakers, and all the people that run the conferences know that I don't even go in to watch the speakers. So
right.
They just let me in. If I tootle in for one person or two, they just let me go in there, and they know what I'm going to do. I go in the back row and I go to sleep.
Yeah, because I know, like, when we showed up on Thursday, and we ended up splurging and spending the money on the day pass, which was like $80, and we went and watched Dolan speak, and like, it was cool.
It was dope.
But we were like, I mean, I've already heard that.
Yeah.
And I could have just listened to it on the internet.
Or we could have just hit him up. He showed up at the bar that night. We could have just chatted him up there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, lesson learned. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. We've all learned that one over the years, but I'm glad you guys figured it out quick.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And also, I just want to add, like, to anybody that's listening out there that's new to this topic and kind of entering this community for the first time, I would, just a little advice, I mean, coming from somebody that's also a newbie, like, pay attention to the people that no one's talking about, because that's where the real information is. The people that are being broadcasted globally, and you see Facebook posts about it being targeted at you. Okay, yeah, it'll get you into the subject, which, I mean, I'm definitely a part of that group where, like, I definitely was brought into this thing through, like, you know, Ancient Aliens and you know, I won't name any names, but, like, you know, big speakers, but which I at the same time I appreciate, because it brought me into this thing. But now that I'm into it, you got to kind of look through that veil and just realize that the people that you're standing next to at these things are the people that you should be talking to, not sitting quietly and listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you guys, that's absolutely the truth. And I tell everybody when they say, "Oh, I'm going to go to my first conference ever," I go, "Well, you know what? If you don't see a speaker, don't worry about it. What I want you to do is go to the vendor room and hang out with all the vendors."
Yes.
Yep.
Because every vendor I know is way beyond the people on the stage.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Did you guys talk to Vivian Chevette? She's going to be speaking at my conference, and this woman's got major contact going on. I mean, it's just wild stories, and amazing lady. Anyhow, so she'll be at my conference as well, but she was a vendor at the conference there,
Sweet.
and wonderful. Anyhow.
Vivian Chevette.
Yeah, I'm looking at a
Chevette,
picture
yeah,
of her.
and
Yeah,
she-
we didn't speak with her. No.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, when I get my list of speakers together here, I will be happy to share some of them with you to have on the show, and they can talk a little bit about what they're going to talk about at the conference. I'd rather they not, spill the beans.
Oh,
but
absolutely. Yeah.
trust me, these guys have so many stories and so many things that they can walk around what they're going to talk about at my conference and give you 5 hours. You know?
Man, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Definitely not spill the beans, but definitely, I mean, if anything, just kind of maybe get the word out about your event. And I don't know, I just feel like it's such an important thing for people to get together. If you're interested in this stuff, like, go somewhere and be around people that are also interested in this stuff.
Yeah.
But I would love to talk to whoever you're going to be having. That'd be a cool little platform.
Yeah, no, it'd be great. So I'll help you out with that. But anyhow, well, I wonder if it's time to wrap the show up. I don't know how you guys' schedule is, but I just want to say that weekend I had down in LA, after that experience, the next day I'm at my, where was I? I was walking over to talk to Bill Ryan, and there was a young man that was crouched down on the floor, and he and Bill were meditating together over this cube thing that they had between the two of them. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? And so I just started meditating with them, and 4 or 5 minutes later, we all came out of a trance, and this kid or young man pops up, and he says, "Oh, you're Lorien Fenton." And I went, yeah.
Whoa.
I'm like, okay, yeah. He goes, "Yeah, I heard about you. You're going to put on a super soldier conference." I'm like, oh my God. I only mentioned it to 2 people for 30 seconds as a maybe. And he goes, "Yeah, the whole place is talking about it. We're all excited. You're going to be putting on this event." He goes, "I'm a super soldier." And I'm like, oh God, what have I done? And he says, "I'm going to come by your table and talk to you later." And it turns out that was James Rink. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't know who this kid was. So I forgot about him. So later that night, we're packing up our table about 7:00 on Sunday evening. And my head's under the table. And I'm down there packing a bunch of stuff up and pulling it up on top of the table. And I hear a voice, and it's James. And he's talking about his friend that's with him. And his friend says hi to Ace Solaria. And here's where it gets really crazy, guys. I hear this voice. He goes, "Hi, my name is Max." And I'm like, oh my God. And every fiber of my body just went off. I mean, it's like, I was like, what is going on? And I almost bumped my head on the table. But I I cleared the table, and I looked up at him, and I went, oh my God. And I said, "I know you." And he went, "I don't know you." I said, "Do you recognize me?" He goes, "No, I don't know you." And I said, "Oh, okay." And then we became fast friends after that. That was Max Spears. And that night, we all went to dinner, the 4 of us, at the Airbnb house. The guy made us dinner and left it for us. He was a professional chef, which was so nice.
That's awesome.
And so he left out this dinner for us. We had a great time. We talked till 2 or 3 in the morning. I did have some strange things happen during that conversation that are like another whole show, but I'm not going to go into it now. But after that, the next day, I had one of the most profound super soldier, vivid memory type of craziness that I've ever had, ever. And it was all around Max and I. And that's where the story started percolating after I told the stories about this, that Max and I were like lovers and all this stuff, which is so not true, by the way. I just want to throw this out there. He was 20 years younger than I was, and he was a good friend, but there was a lot of crazy stuff because of all the super soldier, and it's not really super soldier. It was the spiritual mind control type of situation where the government was very much involved. And I'm going to leave it at that. And then maybe next time you guys have me on the show in the future, I will talk about what happened between Max and I and Sarah, his girlfriend, and what happened at the conference in 2013 in Henderson where we were all abducted. There were 15 of us abducted, and just all kinds of crazy stuff around that, and about how I got tortured after that conference and just a bunch of things.
Yes, absolutely. It's funny that you said that because I literally just today watched an interview of Max.
Oh, it's so sweet. Yeah, I just, we're still very connected, and I still love him to pieces. So,
oh man,
there you go. He's like my brother.
Wow. So, yeah, absolutely. Well, we definitely need to have you on again because I want to get back into that.
Seriously,
and
there's so
that
much
story and the abduction that you were just leading to.
It's a whole parallel existence along with the UFO community and the conspiracy and JFK community.
That's also what I want to talk to you about, too.
Yeah, that was like one of our big bullet points because I know like we had a couple of discussions at the conference, but like I want to pick your brain so much about the JFK stuff. But man, this is just so gold. It just means that we have to have you on another episode of the podcast.
Yes.
Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate that.
Are you going to be coming to Dallas?
Sometime.
Are you coming to Dallas for the JFK thing?
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
of course. Are you kidding?
22nd?
I don't think I know about that. What is that?
Yeah, it's like I don't say like a reunion, but like a.
It's like a memorial.
Yeah.
So I went to a museum in Dallas about the JFK thing. Maybe it was around the same time, but it was a couple years back, and it was really awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, now wait a minute. Let's talk museums. JFK. Are you talking about the 6th floor museum over in Dealey Plaza?
No. It wasn't in the actual plaza. It was I want to say it was. So my wife is around the northern part of Dallas, so it was around that area. So I know it wasn't in the exact plaza, but this museum was kind of like they had some like some photos that weren't released to the public and some video that not a lot of people have seen. They had a bunch of like physical, I guess, kind of models of the car and where the buildings were. I wish I knew what the museum was called because it was really, really awesome. I don't know if it's a year-round thing. Maybe it was just like there for a couple months, but.
Okay. Well, if you find out, let me know because I know everybody that runs everything about JFK in Dallas, and that sounds to me like it might have been the Mary Farrell Library.
That sounds really, it sounds really familiar.
They had an exhibit there for a while, but my friend Gary's bought all that stuff, and he's opening up a real museum down there, and it just opened up, I think, a couple months ago.
Cool. Oh, cool. So, plug his stuff. Like tell us where it is and who's putting it on.
I will. I'm going to send you guys all kinds of information, and I'm going to be at the JFK Assassination Conference at the Doubletree Hotel. It starts on the 21st, and it runs through the 24th there at... it's not right near Dealey Plaza. The ones I held that before I turned the conference over to the woman who runs it now, I had mine down at the Crown Plaza off of Elm Street.
Okay.
And she moved it over to the Doubletree Hotel Market Center, which is right down the freeway about a mile. So that's where it is now. It'll be that weekend. I don't know I'm trying to remember the URL. I think it's Dallas JFK Conference or JFK Conference Dallas.com. It's one of those two. Okay. To get to that to buy your tickets. Okay.
Awesome. Well, me and Ben are probably going to have to come out there and say hi to you.
Oh, yeah. I'll be working with Chris Milligan at the Trine Day book table. That's where I always am. I'm kind of like, since Chris and I ran the first conferences together, we're just honorary people there.
It's jfkconference.com, I think, if that's correct. Is it the Doubletree Market Center?
Is it JFK Conference? Because I own JFK Conference and not Judith, so I can't be that. Oh, okay. It has to be jfkconferencedallas.com.
Okay, got it. I think
try that.
So the URL I'm looking at is jfkdallasconference.com. So what URL did you say?
I think it's jfkconferencedallas.com. If you go to jfkconference.com, you'll end up at one of my events.
Okay.
one of my older events.
Cool. Well, maybe you'll have to send it to us via message after we.
Yeah, you bet. You bet.
We'll post it on our Facebook and everything. So if anybody's listening.
Yeah, get some younger people there. We'd love to see you guys because it's all gray hairs in that audience, and there's only about 150 of us left. So it's getting tough, and we're losing people left and right. I mean, I lost Jim Mars, and I don't even know what to say anymore. It's just getting bad.
Yeah, I heard you speaking about that and how, this may only go on for another couple of years because, there's nobody left to really talk about it.
Absolutely. We do have a few new researchers on the scene that are doing other kinds of research, like Damon Iles, who's a JFK researcher, but he is now focusing on the son, JFK Jr., and what happened to him. So he can talk about that. So that's kind of cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I am going to be putting on a big conference next year in Las Vegas. It's called Assassination Murder Con. And I've decided I'm not going to just stick with JFK anymore. I'm going to add in JFK Jr., JFK, RFK, MLK, Lee Harvey Oswald, Jack Ruby, because they were all murdered.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the thing. People don't, they just don't, they go, what? And
right.
Jack Ruby was murdered with fast-acting cancer. Dorothy Kilgallen's going to be in this. Marilyn Monroe's going to be in it.
Oh, wow. The Martin Luther King one is like, no one ever thinks of that as a conspiracy, but the Martin Luther King one is like, not a lot of people know that there's more to the story.
Yep.
That's right. He was actually suffocated on the gurney at the hospital.
Yes. See, no one knows about that. Like,
yep.
I know. Man. And they know that Earl Ray, James Earl Ray, or whatever his name is, he was acquitted for the murder by a good friend of mine that's an attorney back in New York City, and I can't remember Pepper. I think it's Pepper. William Pepper got him off. And so the King family sued. God, who did they sue? And they won the case. Against either the county, the city, the state, somebody for false accusation of somebody who did not murder their husband or husband.
Man.
So people don't know about that. There's a whole book about it, and nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of thing. I'm bringing William Pepper to the event because I want him to talk. He's also defending Sirhan right now, who, by the way, his last parole hearing, he was defended by the guy who was holding his arm up at the table that he actually shot.
Whoa, really?
His name's Brady or something like that. The Brady was a good friend of our. He was walking in front of him in through the kitchen, and he saw him start to pull the trigger, and he pinned him up against this table and pushed his arm straight up into the air, or at an angle up in the air. And there's pictures of him doing this. So he only got off one shot, and it went somewhere wild. It did not hit RFK. And so Brady, and one shot hit Brady, and he said on the stand, he says, Sirhan did not kill RFK. I know because I was holding his arm and making him point and shoot to the ceiling.
Yeah.
So how did you people come up with the fact that this guy actually shot him? I know he didn't shoot him. I was there. Oh. And he says this right in front of the what do they call parole committee, and they're all sitting there like a bunch of idiots because they're filming this thing. It's being broadcast, and they don't say a word or nothing. And then they come back and he doesn't get parole, even after the guy who he shot, the only guy he shot, says he didn't kill this guy because I was there. I witnessed it. I know he didn't do it. They said, too bad, we've convicted him. There's nothing we can do to overturn it now, basically.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I mean, I hate to bring this up, but it's like it's such a parallel to what's going on like right now when there's people that are powerful enough, like Jeffrey Epstein. I'm gonna just bring that up just for a second. We don't have to go too far into it, but like at a certain point, if they're connected to a certain organization in the not military but the government, I don't know. It just seems like there's always something fishy behind it. Like, okay, there's clearly evidence.
Absolutely. Or it's just easier to blame somebody and move on with your life. Yeah. Right? Because most people aren't going to investigate. Most people aren't going to look too much into it. We're a culture of like this week, next week,
well, now
whatever the week after is. You know
sure.
what I'm saying? Like things don't stick, And so, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
it's
bummer.
really sad, I gotta say. And there's one last thing to this whole JFK thing that really irks me, is that many years ago, a picture surfaced what we all thought was Oswald standing on the steps in the doorway. Years go by, and we finally come up with digital photography that's good enough to take that negative, which one of the JFK community people actually owns the negative. It's called the Algen 6 photo.
Whoa.
And it was taken by the guy from the Dallas Times or the Dallas Daily News or whatever.
Uh-huh.
He was over on the grass, and he took a picture across the top of the limousine, and you could see the front steps of the school book depository, and you can see all the people standing on the stairs.
Right.
And it was in the newspaper. It was the front cover picture of the newspaper the next day. So now, it's years and years, it's 40, 50 years later, we finally realize that our digital photography has gotten to the point where we can blow up that face in that doorstep, like we all thought was Oswald, like he said he was out there.
Uh-huh.
And we can blow it up now. So we do. We get this negative, we blow it all the way up, we figure out that it's Oswald.
Enhance.
Enhanced. I mean, grown up to the point of crazy, right?
Right.
Then what we do is we get facial recognition software that the FBI uses. We take one of his other photos and we match the two, and it's a 96-point match.
Whoa! So he wasn't up in that window when Kennedy got shot.
Wasn't. He was
For
downstairs just like he said he was, and everybody that is involved in the JFK assassination is known for over 5 years now, conclusively, not even just guessing, because I knew he wasn't up there a long time ago, but that's not, that's me. But you take forensic FBI software, you take picture digital photography, and you prove that it's him, and the government won't listen to us. What we're trying to do, and this is what I want to do before I die, this is one of the most important things to me.
Get it.
That is that we get a congressional record reading that he was never guilty of killing the president of the United States, that it's removed from every textbook, from every bit of history that we've got in this country about him being the lone shooter nut job.
Right.
You want to exonerate the guy.
And exonerate the guy, and that his family gets a pardon from the president and gets medals for his valor, because the guy was an amazing person. He was part of the CIA, the FBI, the Office of Naval Intelligence, and somebody else too. I can't even remember. The guy was brilliant. They make him out to be a psychopathic killer, and he spoke 3 languages. He had an IQ that was close to Einstein. The guy was brilliant, and his spycraft was way beyond. He was CIA, FBI, Office of Naval Intelligence, and I can't remember the other one. I think it was Department of DIA. What is that? Department of something, whatever. Anyhow, he was playing all 4 agencies against each other.
That's insane. And they make him just out to be like some stupid country bumpkin psycho.
Exactly. And here's the other part that blows my mind. Who is the only person in the United States that can let a supposed Russian spy come back to the United States and live a life like it never happened?
Yeah, it was Kennedy's brother, right? Didn't they sign like the papers for him to come over?
It was Kennedy's brother, and Kennedy's brother was working with him too.
And that's documented. That's documented, right?
Exactly.
You could prove that.
So why would Kennedy's brother let this guy back into the country and give him a cush life if he didn't know that he was there on a mission? Come on.
Oh, man.
You know?
Yep.
I mean, it just blows my mind. And his mother, for years and years and years, always said, "You don't know my son? He was working with the CIA." She said that all the time, and nobody believed her.
Wow.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
And see, we're sitting here, and yes, it's a 50-year-old case, and who cares? And you guys weren't even born when it happened, and blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you something. That was the last time in this country that they used a guy that was not mind-controlled to commit a murder.
Wow.
Or pin a murder on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think...
What I called the last aware patsy.
Wow. I mean, I hope that generations moving forward will always look at this as like, okay, an event like this has so many questions around it, and like realize the significance. And okay, well, why is there so many questions, and look into it? I think it just takes a certain type of person. I don't think this is ever going to go away.
I hope not.
You know,
I really do. I hope that people your age realize how significant this is, and they get the world to understand that that was a very significant point in history, because the day he died, the world mourned. It wasn't like 20 people mourned or 100 people mourned or 1,000 people mourned.
Right.
The world mourned. And that changed our consciousness, and it allowed evil to get in because we felt defeated.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yeah, seriously.
That's deep. God.
We felt defeated as a country, as a world, as whatever, because people loved that guy.
Right.
Man, we're gonna have to get you on at least another 3-4 episodes.
Seriously?
Like, for the lifetime we do this podcast, you're gonna be on it
Yes.
like every few months, because like, man, we could just go for hours and hours in on this stuff, because it's, dude, like, me and Ben are interested in that kind of stuff. We love that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I know, and everybody should be, because, you know, the bottom line, whether you're into UFOs or aliens or consciousness or, you know, whatever, conspiracies, you know, they're all connected. And that's the part I tell my friends that are just pure JFK researchers. I say, God, I love you guys, because, you know, you found your focus, you're on it, and you're making a difference. And then I go to my UFO people, I go, oh my God, you found your focus, you're on it, you're making a difference.
Yeah.
You know, and they love it, and they're into their thing, and they all look at me now and they all go, oh my God, you and Jim Mars. See, Jim Mars and I used to go to all the conferences. We go to the UFO conferences, we go to the conspiracy conferences, and we go to the JFK conferences. And we'd always bump into each other. We always had a joke about we're the only two that knew what was really going on, and that is, it's a 3-ring circus and it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to laugh about it all the time. We drink and I make him tap dance. He used to clog dance. I'd bribe him with JD if he'd clog dance with me.
Pretty sure you can get Joe to tap dance if we got drunk enough.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see, yeah, you may be my new tap dancing partner at the conference.
Go, dude.
Yeah, there we go.
Well,
anyhow, it's all connected, and I want everybody to understand that. And if your focus is one thing, that's beautiful, but just remember, in the end, it's all connected, every bit of it.
That's such a beautiful just wrap up to this whole conversation, Lorien. I just want to thank you so much for being on and just being our almost like legit our mentor, and just kind of talking to our listeners. I know they're gonna freak out about it. I've just had such a good time talking to you. I know, Joe. We've been looking forward to this for so long. So,
thank you so much. And
Yeah.
just remember, you got 2 other sisters in the fray there,
Yeah.
Jocelyn
Absolutely.
and Melinda, and they're going to blow your mind too, because I'm very different than they are. Jocelyn's got stuff that'll just blow you about Bradshaw Ranch and the paranormal, and oh my God, and the vortexes. And Melinda, you know, she's a major MyLabs contactee,
Right.
and she's
Yes.
an abductee. And she's got what I call the space babies, and so it's like another whole world. And then the 3 of us all hang out together, and it's just really cool.
Just imagine 2 dudes just like randomly becoming friends with you guys. Like,
I know.
I feel like we're pretty lucky to.
Yeah, me
to meet
and
you
Ben
guys.
were talking about that. We were like, man, how cool is that we met like 3 of the coolest ladies at this entire conference, and they just kind of took us under their wings.
Yeah.
You know, like how awesome is that? That was pretty sweet.
Well, I gotta say something. The 3 of us got together when we were all leaving, and we said, thank God there are people like Joe and Ben out there that were smart enough to realize that this is what's really going on behind the scenes, is the people that attend the conferences, and that they're smart enough to realize that they don't know anything, but in reality they do.
I love that.
That makes me feel
just
so good.
Warms my heart, and also it's just like we're kind of creating our own little family, and not only just us that were just hung out at the conference, but the people that are listening to the show, and the people that they'll tell about the show, and then they'll look into you, and then they'll look into anybody that we talk to. We're really creating this community, and it just starts off like a little synapse, and it just starts somewhere and it leads somewhere else. So
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, well, thank you guys very much for having me. I've got to get to work at some point tonight. So
Oh, my goodness.
now is better than 20 minutes from now. So here we go.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on.
We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, we got to get you on again.
bet.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So, all right. Well, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. Well, man. Yeah. I don't know, guys. that was pretty sweet.
Woo!
I was
Dude.
excited about that, man. God damn, she has so much information.
So much.
It's funny because when you look back at the recording bar, there's our bars are gonna be like nothing. They're gonna be like little spots where we're just like, whoa, yeah,
Dude.
and
But weed though also. I brought up weed more than I've ever brought up in this podcast.
it's like okay, so I know you just told us the truth, but what about this, right?
Yeah.
Man.
Dude.
Guys,
yeah.
I hope y'all enjoyed that, man, because
Me too.
she is an amazing lady, and we're definitely gonna have her on again. That was absolutely one of my favorite ones.
Dude, it's my new favorite one. It's almost like every episode is like, oh, we say it's my new favorite one, but dude, this just tops it because we're entering this new chapter where like, okay, at first we were just bullshitting and like what ifs, and we're just asking like, dude, this is a cool idea, which I think a lot of people love about this conversation that we're having and we're recording it. But to like splice in people that have talked to real people that have experienced these things
And experience themselves. You know,
I think it's good. Like you can't just sit around and like, talk
what
about
if?
Hey, what if?
Yeah.
But I feel like we're very lucky that we just got along with Lorien and that whole crew. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of moonlighting this whole thing, but
I mean, yeah, no, absolutely. It was one of the most important things to happen to us and this podcast.
Yeah.
You know, like it affected us so strongly that like when we got back from the conference, we were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, dude.
Like we almost didn't know what to do.
And there's people that are listening right now that literally started listening to us because we're goofballs and like, hey, we're talking about aliens, and now they're going on this journey with us at the same time. Like they're realizing, oh shit, there's a lot more to this than I thought. Yeah, it's still really fun.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh fuck, there's like some bedrock to this.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
some stuff that's like affecting.
Like you can get a foothold on some of this stuff now without having to like just kind of guess.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Now we're getting into this period, you know, in this journey that we've taken to where it's like, oh, okay, so now we actually have a grasp on like, I guess not the beginning, but like we have a grasp on like what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that's what's refreshing about our perspective is because we are so new to this that we are just grasping on the things that we find very interesting in our we'll dig into questions of our guests that we find interesting. Although that information has probably been out there for a few years, it's probably just relevant enough to us that it's I don't know. It's going to make a difference moving forward. Like,
yeah,
maybe
definitely.
there's a lot of bullshit out there.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And it's not our mission to just like weed through it. We're going to find, hey, this is interesting. We're going to talk about it. Maybe it's wrong or fake or dumb, but if we find something that's, I feel like I'm going on a rant, but if we find something that's really interesting, we're going to go in on it. I'm guaranteeing you that like the majority of people that are listening are definitely on the same path that we are.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? Like I don't feel like we dig into stuff that's like, okay, well that's fucking dumb. You know, we haven't talked to anybody about, you know, personally. Like, I guess the fairy photo might be the only reference that I could think of. Like,
yeah,
we didn't spend too much time talking about that.
But there may be an explanation that we haven't heard.
Yeah,
right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, there's so much to this, guys. And when we do come up with questions and things, now we have somebody, you know, like Lorien to come on the show and kind of talk to us about it. You know, these people that have been in the game for years, 40 plus years, man. I mean, you know, she's been in it for like 30 plus years, you know, and there's just, God,
we barely scratched the surface with this one because we did talk about, or Lorien talked about the super soldier stuff a little bit, but we kept, we're just scratching the surface. There's so much more
because we have so many questions throughout the podcast.
So, I mean, hey, if you're listening to this and if you have a question, email us or hit us up on our Facebook, UFO Garage on Facebook. And we have our group too. So if you want to join that, if you have questions about it and you want us to ask her next time she's on the show, we'll ask her, we're probably thinking the same thing, but I mean, it's all a conversation.
Yeah, because we keep a little log, so everything that we have questions for certain people, we're gonna put it in that little log, and so whenever we have her back on the show, we're gonna remember because we're gonna write it down. Yeah,
we're gonna remember.
Yeah, I loved how she was like, "Is that a South Park reference?"
Yeah.
And we were like, "No, but it should be. It should be."
Well, the thing is, she knew what we were talking about, but the way that we personified, or I guess like characterized it, was like,
oh, it's so.
I mean,
awesome.
again, dude, like Childress, the guy is one of them. Dude, he's a legit researcher. He's a
absolutely.
geologist. I mean, yeah, he talks funny, but all right, we're laughing with you, not at you, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I love that dude. I mean, he's done a lot, like, to prove a bunch of stuff that, like the ancient alien theory. Like, I kind of lump that into, monoliths that we've dated back that, they're way older than they used to be.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
the hell did we make these things? But he's like one of the only people in the field that is dedicated his life to believing that, there's something else to this.
Right. Right.
And I'm not, honestly, dude, like, I'm kind of on the fence. Was it alien influence, or were we just really freaking smart back in the day and we just lost some shit?
I don't know.
I'm on the fence because
Maybe we should have him on the podcast.
I would love David Childress to be on the podcast, dude.
Well, we might meet somebody who's got a
get him on the podcast,
and he would say some smart things.
he'd probably make fun of us, dude. He'd probably be like, "Oh, I'm Ben. I forgot. It's this video. I forgot who posted the video. My name's Ben. I forgot." That's what he would say.
Oh, God damn it. Yes, dude.
My name's Ben. I forgot. Yeah.
But, yeah, dude, I mean, we've gotten to know some pretty cool people.
Yeah.
And they know some pretty cool people.
That no one knows about.
And even Lorien said, hey, I'd be willing to shoot some people over y'all's way and have them, come on the podcast and stuff like that. So, it's a possibility, guys, like we're going to be working through this, and we're going to also be meeting some cool people and hearing about cool people, and that's our mission, is to bring those people's stories to y'all.
Yeah.
We may not be the smartest people in the world, and we may not be the best researchers in the world.
We're just Dr. Scientists.
We're just Dr. Scientists. And I mean, but we do want to provide some of the coolest, fun content for y'all.
Yeah.
Because without y'all, I mean, we're nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just me and Joe talking in a room by ourselves.
Yeah, going through a bottle of wine every episode.
Every episode. Exactly.
So
yeah, I mean, if you enjoy the show, comment on our Facebook and our YouTube. If you're enjoying the show, let us know that you like it, so we're not just talking to ourselves here. I mean, we've got a really awesome community right now.
We do,
and I only see it growing. But yeah, I hope that the more people that we get involved in this, and like if you have an awesome story, like reach out to us. We'll never say your name. We'll tell your story and just have a fun time talking about it. I mean, that's the whole point.
Absolutely.
You said our mission. Our mission. What even? We're just talking about it. That's the whole mission.
Yep.
We're not trying to
It's just
money.
to get the word out.
Yeah,
that's it. We just want to get the word out.
We're trying to make money to save it for a couple GoPros so we could do like actual video on our YouTube. But like, dude,
yeah,
the whole point of this thing is just we find it really fun to talk about this kind of stuff, and it's just interesting, and not a lot of people talk about it. So
yeah. And thanks to everybody who stays active with us, like posts on the page and goes to the YouTube and stuff like that. I mean, that's super awesome.
So awesome. It's like my best part of the day is like I sign on Facebook. Oh, you have notifications. So dope, dude.
Yeah, it's cool, man. We really, really enjoy that, and it lets us know that we're doing something right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, if there was nothing to be like, all right, well, we suck.
Yeah.
So let's just stop doing this.
And tell your friends. Tell your friends, because guys, this whole topic is coming into a new era.
I mean, dude, even tell your parents or your cousins. Like, when my parents found out I was doing this, they were like, "Oh, by the way, we know some people that have had their own experiences."
Seriously,
which,
right?
Like, Mom, what the hell? Why didn't you let?
Why didn't you tell me that? Yeah,
I've been into this my whole life, and you've never told me that like people that I've met have had experiences. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Man, well, that was awesome.
Dude, such an awesome podcast, dude. Oh, check out our store. Go to UFOGaragePC.com. We've got some socks. We've got some winter wear coming up. Winter wear. We got some socks, a hoodie, a baseball tee. It's like a long sleeve, quarter length, whatever.
Sick.
Yeah, and so I want to do like a t-shirt, the Dr. Scientist t-shirt.
Nice.
And I want to do the goat falling over t-shirt for this episode.
Yes. 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 Oh my
Maybe we'll
gosh.
give a little kickback to Lorien too.
Hell yeah.
That'd be
Hell
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
But yeah, to whoever, all of you that have bought t-shirts and stuff, thank you so much, because it's been building up our little PayPal account so that we could buy these little GoPros. Thank you so much. Like we're not asking much, but just, thank you so much for buying our stuff and like repping our merch and everything. It's really helping us out. And helping us out meaning like we just want to buy a couple of cameras so we can do a YouTube channel. Like,
and be able to go to these conferences and meet these people and be able to have them on the show with you guys too. And if you feel like you don't need more shit in your life, you can just go and donate. We have a donate button down at the bottom of the page. Once again, it's UFOGaragePC.com. Any little thing helps out, guys.
Yeah.
And if you just want to listen, then that's fine by us too, man. But if you like it and you want to see it grow and you want to see it keep going, definitely. Yeah. Either one of those ways is awesome.
You could pay us back, and I mean, dude, just commenting like, "Hey, love your show,"
and hitting that subscribe button on YouTube,
or rating us on iTunes. That would be badass.
Yeah,
dude.
definitely.
I don't think we have one rating on iTunes.
Yeah, go rate us.
That'd be awesome if we got a rating, like whatever. That'd be super cool. It helps us like show up when people search. Like if people like have no idea about UFOs or whatever. I mean, I imagine you go to podcast on Apple and you type in UFO podcast, whatever. There's only a few that show up. So if we show up one of the first or maybe like the fourth one, it helps us kind of, get up there and get our name out there and everything. So that'll help out a lot.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, dude.
All
that
right,
plugging has got me out of breath, dude.
Yes, man. Yes. Well, yeah, dude. Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah. My mind's blown.
I hope your guys' mind's blown too, man.
Yeah,
that was good stuff.
Great
that was
Friday
good
night.
Stuff.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
All right, bro.
Well, that sounds like it's getting towards the end there.
That was another episode of UFO Garage.
That's right. It was another episode of UFO Garage. Hey, man, we will talk to all of y'all next time.
Stay funky, people.
I'm out.
I'm out. Me as well.